Sound check 1 2 3. Sound check 1 2 3.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Public Works Committee meeting of September 29th, 2025. We have quorum present for today's meeting. I would like to call this meeting to order. A reminder that all electronic devices are to be switched to a non-audible function during committee meetings. We have in council, Councillor McMeekin, Councillor Spirafora, Councillor Jackson, Councillor Kassar, Councillor Matt Francis, Councillor Maureen Wilson, Councillor Kretsch, Councillor Beatty, Councillor Nan, Taddison, and Wong. And on the video there, we got Councillor Alex Wilson. Thank you. Okay, approval of the agenda. May I please have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda as presented? Councillor Beatty and Councillor Kretsch. All in favor, show of hands. And thank you. Well, before I move on, I see that new councillor from Ward 8, Robert Cooper, has joined us. Welcome, and I speak for all my colleagues. We're happy that you're here. I just want you to aware he's got sworn in, but today he'll observe. He will not be able to vote, but he could ask any questions you like after you observe how the meeting goes, and if you have any question, you're always welcome. We really appreciate it, and we're all happy that Ward 8 now has a councillor. Thank you, and thank you for coming. Okay, declaration of interest. Is there any declaration of interest? I don't see any, so we'll move on to that. Number 5, approval of the minutes of previous meetings. 5.1, September 8, 2025. May I please have a mover and a seconder to adopt the previous meeting? Councillor Jackson, Councillor McMeekin, thank you. All in favor, show of hands. Okay, we're going to go to delegation. Before we begin our delegation for today's members, are reminded that the questions of the delegation are for clarification purpose only, not for debate. A note to our delegate. You have 5 minutes to delegate, to complete your delegation. You will hear a tone, and that's 4 minutes, but you will have an extra minute to finish up your delegation. So 6.1, first one is Pete Zusek, Respecting Report, PED 25173, Oberle Avenue Bicycle Lane Review, and it's in Ward 15. Welcome, and welcome to our committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the opportunity to be here today to delegate, as well as thanks to the rest of the committee for the opportunity to speak on this matter. As you know, we were first here on the February 12th to speak to the issue of the bike lanes on Wimberley Avenue and the lack of on-street parking. We had a successful discussion that day, and we shared with you a petition that was signed by all 13 landowners on Wimberley between North Wardown Road and Nisbet Boulevard, requesting that on-street parking be returned to that street, which is the way it was when we purchased our properties. So we left that meeting with staff agreeing to look at this matter further. We did have several challenges throughout the summer as we were parking our vehicles on neighboring streets. We had received numerous threatening notes from our neighbors, copies here, for parking our cars on public streets. We shared that information with the staff as the work progressed. But we would also like to say that we had some very positive conversations with your staff. So I'd like to just recognize that. Some of them are here today. Very respectful through this entire period since February 15th. They were listening. They even came and visited us personally at our property. And we really do appreciate that level of attention and willingness to hear our side of the story. I'd like to mention and I guess essentially conclude that all 13 residents of Wimberley Avenue from North Waterdown Road to Nisbet Boulevard are supportive of staff's recommendation to pursue option 1, which includes maintaining the bike lanes, but also restoring as much on-street parking as possible. So very, very pleased that that is the staff recommendation. We look forward to the council discussion that's going to pursue that later today. And I would also just like to conclude, we would appreciate receiving future updates from staff if possible as this progresses, as we realize this is something that's going to not be resolved quickly, so we would appreciate the opportunity to have those lines of communications maintained and continue at a high level, which they have. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Pete, and I just want to thank you for recognizing our staff. I think it's important when we have great communication, and I see that it's a win-win for both sides. So I really appreciate you doing that. But I wonder if there's anybody on the speakers list. Councillor McMeekin, please.
Yes, thanks, Deputy Mayor, and Pete, thanks for coming out and to you and your neighbors for your patience in getting this resolved. I can attest, Madam Chair, that the neighbors and the staff did collaborate respectfully and helpfully, and the resolution we have before us is, in my humble opinion, an appropriate response given the encounters that we've had. And I'm pleased to hear that the residents are in fact in tune with option number 1, which I will support and urge my council colleagues to when it comes to a vote. Thanks.
Thank you. I don't see anyone else, but you could stay and see when we talk about it later on. But at this, thank you. We're going to call on 6.2 Chris Risma, Cycle Hamilton, respecting report, the same report, and it's more 15 as well. Welcome, Chris, and you've spoken before, so you know the rule. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for having me to the Public Works Committee, and I wanted to say also welcome to the upcoming to be sworn in Councillor Cooper. Cycle Hamilton looks forward to working with you to continue cycling infrastructure in Ward 8 and to make that best for the people of Ward 8 who cycle around, and even those who don't necessarily get on their bicycles, to make sure everything works just like this type of exact discussion. So I'll make this quick because Cycle Hamilton is supportive, obviously, of staff's recommendation. We're really glad to hear that the staff and the residents were able to come to a conclusion that allowed the bicycle lanes to continue, but also maintain what they wanted and needed on the road. Obviously, we're supportive of bicycle lanes rather than the bicycle boulevard option because, you know, there's plenty of parking in the option 1. I went through and counted. There's 180 vehicle spaces or space for 180 vehicles on private property on Wimberley, and to my understanding, there's a maintaining of 55 on-street parking spaces. So there's 235 parking spaces for 50 homes with the cycling lanes installed. So I think that's probably plenty. We did want to just note that the way that the infrastructure is currently kind of shown in the appendix, it kind of just ends at all the intersections. We wanted to highlight that we'd love to see it continue through the roundabout in a better manner. If you'd like to see some examples of how that's worked in other jurisdictions on quiet streets where there's not physical infrastructure, we have some examples at Cycle Hamilton, and staff can contact Cycle Hamilton or myself directly. And also there's a great multi-use path on North Waterdown Drive, which we would also like to see some better interaction with as well. We also didn't take measurements, but if there's space, we'd love to see the bicycle lanes be parking protected, which means against the curb rather than out towards the street. This is near a high school, so I suspect there's going to be students using it potentially. And with cars crossing the bicycle lane to get into parking, there's potential conflicts, especially as the cycling infrastructure in Waterdown grows. My aunt lives in Waterdown. She loves to bicycle around Waterdown. She moved from the Netherlands when she was 12, and as she's gotten into retirement, she loves to bicycle to her groceries. So these are the types of lanes that my family will be using, even if I might not be personally using them on a regular basis. So I'm glad to see them. And I think that's everything. We're supportive of the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, there's no one in the speakers list, so thank you for delegating.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to 6.3. Matt Johnson, Urban Solution Planning and Land Development Consultant, respecting report PW 25061, feasibility of the relocation of the Kenora Transfer Station relocation. And Matt, you've been here many times as well, so welcome.
Good afternoon, members of committee, staff, and the public. My name is Matt Johnston, a registered professional planner with Urban Solutions, and it's great to be here before you today. I'm here joined by Mr. Matthew LeBlanc of our team, and we're here on behalf of Mr. Brian Leggett, who is owner of lands at the southwest corner of the rail corridor and Centennial Parkway. And it's a very timely day to be delegating on this matter and for this matter to be on the agenda before you. We know Councillor Francis was out in the East End this morning with today's announcement regarding the regarding GO Transit and the commencement of rail service in late October. So soon we'll be able to change this label from Future GO to Confederation GO. And the lands that I'm here on behalf of are just to the south, and we know the Kenora station is just to the west. One of the key facts outlined on page 2 of your staff report reads, the motion supports future development of the lands outlined in the Centennial Neighborhood Secondary Plan, which identifies concerns related to the proximity of potential odors and environmental impacts from the Kenora transfer station that could be detrimental to the economic development and growth spurred from the new Centennial GO. And that's really why we're here today. We do have an existing policy framework in place that supports just the type of development envisioned by the city and council. We have a high-density mixed-use land use designation in the Centennial Neighborhood Secondary Plan. The city's recently completed their work on the Confederation GO Major Transit Station Area Study. And all of this is building towards bringing on development that you'd like to see near an investment like the GO Station. Recently, on behalf of Mr. Leggett, we participated in the city's formal consultation process, and here's where we get into the details and where things can get bogged down. So while Metrolinx and the city were generally supportive of what we had proposed, deep in the details is a requirement for a land use compatibility study and an odor impact assessment. We've seen through a number of examples where we have a sound policy framework in place to support development get bogged down by land use compatibility issues. So what we're here to do today is to really ask you to pursue the relocation of the Kenora transfer facility, and that will really go a long way in ensuring that the vision for the major transit station area and the Centennial Neighborhood Plan get realized and come to life. So with that, I encourage you to do so, and I would be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. I look at my speakers list, and I Councillor Francis.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Matt, for coming down here and presenting this today. I was fortunate to be at this announcement this morning, and it's exciting. It's a good opportunity for our city to grow in an area that makes sense to grow in. It's a fantastic opportunity for our residents, and it will get people downtown Toronto much easier. I know my residents are looking forward to it. Just in terms of your development there, well, if we were not pursuing this moving of the commercial transfer station, not the community one that residents rely on, that one is staying, but the commercial one there that has a lot of odor issues and a lot of noise issues and everything else, what does that do to your development? Does that make it more difficult to build your development? Is it harder to sell units? Does it even make it not viable at all? Could you elaborate on that a little bit more for me, please?
Certainly. Thank you for the question. Through the chair, the impact of this transfer facility can be detrimental. As we saw in the formal consultation, the need for land use compatibility and odor, those studies have not yet been completed, but our own office, I know the city as well, is very familiar with situations where we have a policy framework in place to support something, but we can't get through those land use compatibility issues, whether that's up at James North or other development sites across the city that can't get through that final hurdle because of compatibility issues. So it could prevent the final approvals of the development. Should we be able to overcome some of those compatibility issues, you know, there would be just a remnant lingering impact on the future homeowners, while there would be mitigation measures in place. I would suspect they'll continue to live with the impacts of having such a facility in proximity. So pursuing a relocation would only spur that development more quickly and ensure that it's as vibrant as we all hope it would be.
Thank you for that answer. And I think you said it great there. And I think even if you were able to get through those hurdles, I don't think that we want to be in a position, and I know this isn't an apples to apples comparison, but comparing GFL and the homes, the proximity to the homes to the landfill, I know this is a commercial dump. It's a little bit of a different scenario, but I mean, again, I don't think it's a great idea to be building homes in proximity to a dump either. So I do appreciate where you're coming from here, and we'll be seeking approval at that time. And this is exactly where this investment should be taking place, is right at a GO station and one of the major transit hubs in our city now. So, and I look forward to that opening on October 27th. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. We have Councillor Maureen Wilson, please.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for being here. Subtlety is lost on me on Monday, so just so I understand, are you supportive of the recommendations as set out in the report through the chair?
Through the chair, yes, that's right.
Okay. And so your only caveat, if you will, is that in moving perhaps in that direction, there are requirements within the action that you think frustrate, delay, or not in keeping with the existing policy framework with respect to the compatibility issues. Could you just unpack that, please? I imagine you're looking future forward then in these remarks. Through the chair.
Through the chair, yes. Through the formal consultation process, certain studies were identified given the interface between the subject lands and the proximity to the transfer facility. Not really looking for relief. Those studies are certainly appropriate given the existing condition. But what we don't know is the outcome of those studies and our ability to mitigate and satisfy them. Pursuing the relocation to an alternate location would allow and support more development along the lines of the vision of the MTSA and the secondary plan. So not really looking for specific relief from these applications, but doing so would certainly make for an easier approval review and approval process.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. Is there any other question by committees? I don't see any, and thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
For coming. Okay, may I please have a mover and a seconder to receive the delegation? Councillor Matt Francis, Councillor Beattie, thank you. And everybody show of hands, please. And the vote was carried. Thank you. We move on to 7, items for information. May I please have a mover and a second to put 7.1, 7.2 on the floor? Councillor Wang, Councillor Jackson, thank you. 7.1, feasibility of solar waste bins along roadside location, citywide. Joel McCormick, Acting Director of Waste Manager, is here available to answer any questions. Is there any questions? Councillor Beatty? Oh, no, Councillor Taddison.
You look alike, don't we?
You guys,
Yeah, just a couple of questions. I'm just going to call it up right now. In the report, it says staff will continue engaging with the internet service provider. Wrong one?
Wrong one.
Sorry, I thought, what did you just say?
we are at 7.1, feasibility of solar waste bins along roadside location.
Sorry, I was queued up for the wrong one.
Let me know. Sometimes it doesn't go on my list here, so. Sometimes hard copies are the best. Okay. Anybody on the list? Councillor Maureen Wilson. Are you on the list? You're not on the list, but you're on. Well, I don't, now I see. I saw your hand.
I'm on the KTEL list.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. So sorry for being cheeky. I appreciate this report, and I would like to just focus in on the, my recollection is the pilot for the sensors bins are already in place in largely what I understand to be BIAs. Could I just have a little bit more information on that and when we might expect an assessment through the chair?
Okay, Acting Director, Joel?
Yes, thank you. Through the chair, my name is Joel McCormick, Acting Director of Waste Management. So yes, we do have a pilot happening right now with sensors within the existing litter containers or a portion of existing litter containers within the city. So they are situated in the downtown, some on Locke Street, some on Ottawa Street. The idea behind them is to help provide us visibility in regards to the amount of waste and how quickly the garbage cans fill. So we are about a month and a half or so into it. It would be great to get a full year's worth of information so that we can understand through each season what it looks like and how the equipment can hold up throughout the different seasons and weather and such. But we will have information usually on a quarterly basis to help understand the pilot and the benefits and or pros or cons from the pilot.
Thank you. So just so I understand that which will be measured through the chair, the sensors are such that they will help alert you to whether a bin is filled or not, and then that frequency alerts you to, well, there may be areas in the city that require a different level of service than others, and presumably that information will enable you to execute a more efficient delivery of service that is actually informed by the traffic and the usage through the chair.
Yes, through the chair, that is correct.
Okay,
it will be able to provide us some good information for sure in regards to usability and how often they are used and frequency of collection.
Thank you, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Can I release my chair to Councillor Francis? I'll like to ask a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor. The solar waste bins, I didn't really know what it was, so I sort of asked at the review. I'm just wondering, what is the cost of having one of these solar waste compared to just a waste, normal waste? That's bin?
Through the chair, it's the comparison between our standard litter container that we have within the city, we call them Jubilee litter containers, and a average solar power is about 500% more cost to purchase a solar power which is ranges on average about $6,400 per unit.
So 500% more by having
Approximately,
these solar bins. Do you know, and through the chair, do you know if any other cities have this?
Through the chair, there are cities that do have them. They're not quite as popular, say, in Canada from that perspective. Like if we look at existing municipalities or comparative municipalities, they have some scattered within the city, but not from like a wide range use.
Okay, so we're doing a pilot right now, right? Is that what I heard? Is it a
Yes, through the chair, we have a pilot that is focusing on, they're called fill sensors. So it's a unit that's put into an existing litter container, and it uses like lasers to be able to identify the fill of that container.
Okay, I know the cost is 500% more, so I'm just was wondering if that pilot, do we need to do a pilot? We know 500% is a lot of money, so we'll continue to do the pilot and then we'll figure out whether we want them or not.
Yes, through the chair, yes.
Thank you. All right, thank you. I'll take the chair back. Okay, 7.2, Rural Broadband Expansion Plan Update. And this is citywide. We have Acting Director Brian Hollingsworth here, Engineer Service, and he's available to ask any question. I think it's Councillor Taddison wants this one, right?
Sorry for my distraction earlier. How about just a brief update, and I'll gather my questions. Thanks.
Happy to do so through the chair. As mentioned, Acting Director Brian Hollingworth, Acting Director of Engineering Services, Brian Hollingworth. The report you have in front of you is to provide an update on the status and actions in progress that Hamilton has initiated with respect to the Rural Broadband Expansion Plan. Just as a refresher, the Rural Broadband Expansion Plan was first introduced in 2021 by the province. Also, the federal government is involved, and Rogers was contracted to deliver the program for Hamilton. Over the last couple years, staff have met with Rogers in March 2023, again in October 2024, and there have been meetings with broader municipal meetings as well, organized by Infrastructure Ontario. But yet, to date, we have not received an official application from Rogers as to where and when they will install the fiber. This report also highlights the method that is being discussed, which is called rural roadside plowing. And the report does flag some issues around that with respect to increased costs and interference with things like roadside ditching. But again, in summary, we are looking forward to an application under our permitting process for Rogers plans. And I have Dave Lamont online to answer any detailed questions, and Carolyn Ryle is quite capable of speaking to the operational issues. Thank you.
Thank you for the re-up here. Councillor Taddison, any questions?
Yes, I do. On page 2 of 6, it basically says that staff will continue engaging with Rogers and report back to council with updates regularly on the Rural Broadband Expansion Plan. Can I get a operational definition of what regularly means to staff?
Who would like to enter?
Through the councillor, from my perspective, I've tried reaching out to Rogers multiple times. Different contacts through email and telephone have not got a response as of yet. I believe we were approaching it from the government relations aspect as well. And Acting GM Kennedy has also reached out. And I reached out as late as this morning, as well as over the last month. And we will continue to do so.
Okay, so thank you for that and those efforts. That's appreciated. And I do appreciate this report back. the original motion that was brought forward sought a report back every 6 months. So it's been a year now since that motion came through, and this is our first report back. So can I submit an amendment to the report that requests a report back every 6 months as we're getting closer to, possibly having some contact with Rogers? Is that fair? Staff?
Through the chair, that is totally fair.
Okay, and I don't know about the implications of how we
Do you
word
want to
that.
do a motion on that or just give direction? Clerk? Do you want to do a motion? Okay, we
Okay.
could do a motion to ask
So,
that.
so I'll submit that after I finish my
Okay,
questions.
that sounds
thanks.
great. There's a few other questions as well.
Through,
so-
through the chair, I just point out that the original report, item F, did require us to come back every 6 months, so
Oh.
it's already there.
It's
Okay,
all-
so I was aware that it was already there. I just wanted to reemphasize that it is every 6 months,
Okay.
but it's been 12. So let's hold staff to that commitment then, and that's fine. Just a couple other questions then regarding to basically the gist of the original motion. Did recognize that there were some issues. So long-term financial impacts, rural broadband expansion updates, so damage. The city could be responsible for costs associated with relocation or workarounds. Possible increase of costs of 25% in terms of telecom infrastructure. So I understand that those are all issues with the implementation, but what the gist of the original motion, it was to recognize all the issues, but the true purpose was to have staff collaborate and assist the internet service provider to identify roads where these issues were minimized and the plowing method could be used. So how is the city assisting the internet provider on doing that? And I guess my concern is, are we focused on the barriers or are we focusing on what's possible? And that's the end of my time.
Good, it's the end of your time, but you could get an answer.
Thank you.
If we have an answer from one
Hi,
of the
General
staff.
Manager Jackie Kennedy. Thanks for the question, and it gives us the opportunity to maybe lean into a little bit about why the report didn't come back sooner as requested as well. Staff have worked on this file since it was approved as a motion about a year ago, looking at the rural areas, examining roads, going through exercises of calculating impacts from a financial perspective on lengths of kilometers of rural roadway for different scenarios that we were anticipating would come from the internet service provider. We've reached out to them routinely and repeatedly, and it's very hard for staff to make progress on something when we don't have a partner on the other side that seems to want it with the same urgency, which is what we have felt. And so while we'd like to advance this, we really do need to have a willing partner on the other side. So we're here, we're ready to have those interactions with Rogers, but we really can't do it just on our own efforts. So that's ultimately where we are with this at this point.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have Councillor Wang, please.
Thank you. I remember when this was brought forward in 2021 from the city side, so I was super excited at that time. But if you could help me remember, this is done through the ASIP program, the Accelerated High-Speed Internet Program, which is full funding from the government. So where are we in terms of that? Because I'm a little worried that the timing of this collaboration may be outside of the parameters of the ASIP program. So it's just, I want to understand from a funding perspective, how is this working?
I'll answer briefly, and then maybe Manager Lamont can comment. The program does come to an end. As mentioned, it was initiated in 2021. It does come to an end soon, I think at the end of this year. But it is this not funded by the city. It's squarely on the provider to initiate action. And we have done some research on other municipalities, and we're not unique. There's a lot of other municipalities that have not seen action. So we're really, as GM Kennedy mentioned, we're in the hands of Rogers, but maybe Manager Lamont can elaborate on that.
Yes, David Lamont, manager of Geomagnesis Corridor Management, through the chair. Just one little correction: it's not fully funded by the government. What happened was there was different lots throughout the province that was established, and telecommunication companies were offered to bid on providing the service. So that's the subtle difference. That's the subtle difference, and that there are other municipalities, as Director Hollingsworth mentioned, that are in the same situation where they are reaching the end, and there is anticipation that there will be an extension.
Okay. My second question through you, Chair, is what is our risk here? Because if this program that was applied for by Rogers to deliver service to the City of Hamilton but is not completed by the end of 2025, what is our risk here? Does that mean that we lose on the opportunity for rural broadband in the future?
Director Hollingsworth?
It's a tough question to answer. I do know that, we've also been researching internet availability, and if you go on the federal government's map, it shows that Hamilton is doing okay. I fully suspect Councillor Tattison has thousands of examples where people are complaining about rural internet, but the technology may have changed. We don't know, so it's hard to answer what our risks are.
So perhaps as follow-up then through you, Chair, is I'd like to understand where is Rogers on the hook here? Because if they've put us as the recipient and the client, but they have not delivered on the said service, this funding will likely magically disappear. And as Councillor Tattison knows, even though on the federal maps and all of our hexagonal maps, it says that Hamilton, including the rural, has 100% internet coverage, including LTE, but we all know that that's not at all the case. So my concern is that we are losing on a significant opportunity for getting rural broadband, specifically rural stable fiber broadband to our rural community. And if we continue to have these missteps when it comes to trying to coordinate with Rogers, I fear that we are going to lose out on this significant funding opportunity. So my hope is that from our city perspective that we will double down on efforts to reconnect with Rogers and see if we can get this past the goal post. Is that right, Councillor Jackson? Past the goal post. Okay, thank you.
It's any of the staff want to answer that, how we can get Roger to help us here and get him on board with all the funding?
Through the chair, we will continue using multiple channels, not just through Rogers, but also through Infrastructure Ontario, and see if we can make a connection and get some updates. But
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kassar.
Thanks, Chair Pauls. Many of my constituents have also reached out. It's not just Councillor Tattison that's hearing about the frustration, and folks really are frustrated that nothing's moving along. I was going to ask, but I think it's been established that the city is not responsible for putting this in. It's the internet service provider. I think that just needs to be made clear. So that's been answered. So my question then is around the methods of potential installation, if we hopefully get to that point, of roadside plowing, which I believe Rogers is advocating for, versus a different method. And what I understood from previous conversations is that roadside plowing is preferred because it can be much faster, although this report and comments have indicated there's liabilities and costs that the city would take on. So how much, or can staff, through your chair, comment on how much of the installation method is a barrier or will be a barrier? Because we, as a council, need to consider potential future costs and liability.
Okay, Director Rael, or?
Through the chair, Carolyn Ryle, Director of Transportation. So thank you, Councillor, for the question. Again, with us just trying to estimate the costs with regards to this new technique of what they're trying to do, it really has to do with the location of where they're trying to put it. They're trying to put it at the edge of the pavement, and coming back from just our operational lens of the work that we do out in the field, we're estimating right now a 25% increase with regards to our culvert program as well as our annual ditching programs. We have 2 programs that we run annually, and based on those programs, that's what we're estimating right now is a 25% increase. There have been internal conversations among ourselves on, the technique that they would like to do. If they're able to move it to the back side of the ditch, further away from the edge of the right-of-way, which is what we're recommending and preferring, that will be the conversation we will continue to have with them to see if they're able to accommodate for that.
Councillor Cassar, any?
Yeah, so just a closing comment. Thank you for that. I think it's important to have that on the public record. And I know this is an information report. There is no request for council direction. I understand that. It's within the hands of staff. I would just want to stress the importance for rural residents on moving this forward. I know staff are working on that, but just want to say that please, there are a lot of folks that want internet access, need it for business, and if we can support, I will do that, but it's in the hands of staff. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, Councillor Crutch, please.
Thanks. I have a couple questions here, following from Councillor Cassar's questions. Mine are similar. I seem to have gotten the right channel. I talked to these folks at AMO about this at length, and they gave us examples about the way that they plow the cables close to the roadside and other municipalities. So my first question is there something very unique about Hamilton's rural infrastructure where it poses a different or a more significant barrier for us to do this when other municipalities are doing the same thing already? I'm just trying to understand that, like what the gap is there.
I'm going to jump in. Part of the challenge that we have is that we're talking about theoretical locations because we don't have a request from Rogers yet to review a location that they propose. So once they do, we will be in a position to review what they'd like to do. If they would like to take an exception to the policy that we have that guides all the utilities that install their infrastructure under and around the roads in the right-of-way in Hamilton, we can review that with them, and if there's cost implications, we can bring it to council as something that perhaps you want to advocate for making that change to allow for this utility to install their infrastructure in a way that's different and will have cost implications. So staff are open to that as an option of how we could move this forward, and we've reviewed some lengths of road, as was directed through the motion a year ago, to bring to the table to have those conversations with Rogers. But what we are lacking on that is a two-sided conversation on that. So to actually review it with some plans in place where they're putting applications in that we could then have that discussion about what would be a way to move forward on this together. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, GM Jackie Kennedy.
Thanks, and through the chair, just to clarify this a little bit more if I could. So what I'm hearing when I'm listening to the conversation broadly is, and listening to everyone's commentary is, it seems like Rogers is waiting for the signal from the city to say, yeah, we'd support you plowing right next to the road, and then they'll put an application in. If I'm wrong about that, that's fine, but that seems to be the barrier I'm identifying in this conversation is there's a bit of back and forth around where the plowing will go. If the plowing will go on the other side of the ditch, right, as away from the roadway, staff will be more supportive. If Rogers got the signal we were more supportive, they might put an application. Does this summarize what's going on here? Or, because I've talked to various people on the subject and I'm just confused.
GM?
We would be happy to have that conversation with them.
Okay, fair enough. Yep. I have a contact. I'll share it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have second-time speaker is Councillor Tattison, please.
Just noting in my understanding from the situation is that the machinery that they do have doesn't necessarily work for the other side of the ditch because it's basically a tractor method that goes straight down the road, puts the plow in and puts it off. If you go off the road, you're going to have to access and drive that machine over the ditches and so forth, and it's not viable for them. So again, I'll leave it at that for that piece. I just wanted to say, the staff know I speak with Rogers regularly. I've reached out to staff and Rogers has reached out to me to try and coordinate efforts to improve that communication. I think we're getting there, so that's a positive. Just one of the questions that I do have inside this report, it just says some of your issues basically with roadside ditching. It said, I see it says culverts and ditching are a possible future cost that, you know, that we don't want to undertake. So can I understand, I do understand culverts, but can you please help me understand how many rural roads we ditch to the side of the pavement at this point?
GM?
Sorry, Director Ryle.
Director,
can answer
okay.
that one. Thank you.
Through the chair, maybe I can start, and I have Manager Sinolis here that oversees the operations. So we have two programs, Councillor, just to give some context to everybody, where we have $1 million annual ditching program where we try and do 21 kilometers throughout the city and the rural roads. We also have a $2 million culvert rehab and replacement program. Again, that's an annual cost. So we're running right now at about $3 million to deal with rural roads from an operational lens. What we've attempted to do, again, in addition to what GM Kennedy already highlighted without having specific roads, is we were trying to estimate if their conduits and their infrastructure were to be put closer to the edge of the right-of-way, which is where our ditching occurs annually, we run the risk of severing it, and there's costs associated with doing that. So the attempt we were doing when we were coming back with our estimate was what other technique or equipment would we need to use in order to perform our annual programs without damaging, for example, the infrastructure that's put into place. So we would have to have a more manual hydrovac process, for example, versus having larger equipment where we'd have gradles coming in and obviously skimming and reshaping the culvert. So we'd be having to move to more of a manual hydrovac process that has increased costs. And when we did, again, just an estimate for this report, we were sitting at around a 25% increase. And that was just to deal with the operations and the maintenance of our annual programs. I don't know, Manager Sinolis, if you have anything else you wanted to add on that.
Peter Sinolis, Manager of Roadway Operations. Through the chair, so building on what Director Ryle said, anytime we go out and repair a culvert or replace a culvert currently or do any ditching, we don't have that infrastructure currently there. And before we do any work, we need to obtain a locate and provide it, and just to ensure we're not going to damage any infrastructure. So if we find that cable within a 1 meter zone of that cable to be installed in the future, we need to bring in digless technology, which is a hydrovac or hand dig. So if you can imagine we're doing a kilometer of ditching, we're going to have that piece of equipment there with us for that entire day. That goes for our culverts as well, and any shouldering work. So any work within that 1 meter offset of that cable is going to slow down our operations and going to have an additional cost as well.
Thank you, Councillor Taddison.
Okay, so I appreciate that, and I understand, again, the culverts and the necessary, if you're going to locate things, but if they're going to put it right beside the pavement and down deep 3 feet, I just don't see how the ditching gets included in this when you're ditching, you know, sometimes 5 and 6 or 2 meters from the road edge anyways. We don't have many roads that are right beside the ditch without shoulders. So thanks for that. I'll leave it at that, and just hopefully we can progress this thing forward for the rural residents.
Okay, thank you. We're going to receive these items, 7.1, 7.2, and we'll vote by show of hands. Everyone, thank you. And it passes. Okay, 8, public hearing, 8.1, proposed permanent closure and sale of portion of the assumed alleyway between 11 and 13 East Avenue North, and that's in Ward 3. As required under the city bylaw number 14204, a public meeting is required. Notice that this public meeting was provided and posted on the City of Hamilton website. The notice advised that anyone whose lands are prejudicially affected may appear before the committee. We have registered speaker. We have Pierre Roy, and he's virtually. I don't see you. There you are. Welcome. Hi. And you have 5 minutes, and go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Pauls. Good afternoon, members of the Public Works Committee. I'm here today to discuss alleys in general and the important role they play in mobility and connectivity and urban placemaking in our growing city, and how we can embrace them as a tool for intensification. Alleys came about in the Victorian era as a direct response to the typical long and narrow lots, and they allowed for secondary access to the rear of properties for horses and pedestrians without taking up valuable street frontage. However, they're not just for the horse and buggy. They are a tried and tested tool in developing dense, walkable urban environments. They allow for mid-block pedestrian shortcuts, access for second-floor apartments and walk-up buildings, and provide for an interesting way to explore the city from a different perspective. For vehicle-related uses, they can alleviate traffic on main roads by allowing for servicing like loading, deliveries, and waste collection from the rear of commercial properties. They also provide access to rear yards of homes for off-street parking, reducing the demand for street parking. They can also play an important role in intensification and helping us meet our housing targets. Hamilton's additional dwelling unit policy requires a 1 meter wide path from a laneway suite to the street for emergency access. Alleys can only be used as secondary access. This strict rule presents a barrier for this type of development in many older neighborhoods where this type of limited access, or where there's limited access from the front yard to the backyard. Several cities have recognized how alleys can be used to address this issue and allow them to be used for emergency access subject to certain requirements. This is a policy that would be well suited for Hamilton, but the impact would be diminished if we continue to sell off pieces of our alleys without regard for the future. Going back to the 1980s, Hamilton has had a long-standing policy that largely permits the closure and sale of these important parts of our urban fabric, generally without regard or consideration for what purpose they may serve in the future or what impact they may have on other alley users other than adjacent landowners. They are largely treated as surplus land and available for sale, unless disputed by the public. But the public at large is often unaware that this process is even underway, as the only form of notice is a posting on the city's website and a mailer circulation to adjacent landowners. Unlike minor variance applications, for example, there's no sign posted on site to inform other community members. The upfront cost is very high at over $5,000. This may appear as a deterrent and a screening mechanism to ensure that applications are only made of necessity, but in reality, the high upfront cost puts up a barrier so that only wealthy landowners can initiate this process. Together, these policies generally favor the sale of alleys over their strategic retention for public use. We can't allow this process to continue indefinitely. On face value, the closure of 25 meters of an alley adjacent to two surplus municipal parking lots might not seem very impactful, but doing so would fracture a nearly 700-meter-long continuous alley network running behind our future LRT on King Street. It's also part of a larger network that continues another 400 meters towards John Street. The value of alleys along the LRT corridor was recognized by Metrolinx and the city's LRT office. In a 2024 report, they indicated that they were collecting information on the use of alleys in the nearby International Village for deliveries, loading, and parking purposes, and that they were working on developing an alleyway strategy to inform future plans along the corridor. This report lists all the city divisions consulted about this application, but I was surprised to see that it does not mention Metrolinx or the city's LRT office as having been consulted. This is a crucial consideration. In terms of public consultation, the report notes that of the 33 notices circulated, only one response was received, which was in opposition of the closure. And the report also notes that another nearby property owner objected and expressed that the alley should be retained for the community. The report responds that internal departments have confirmed that the land is not needed for current or future municipal use, and that the closure aligns with the city's strategy of disposing of surplus lands, and it does not support the long-term service delivery objectives. I find this statement particularly confusing as it directly contradicts the alley's functional classification in the city's alleyway management strategy, which is pointed out in this report as being the most important alley classification, which is Class A, and meaning an alleyway that is assumed and is in a priority area and provides a crucial role to support surrounding businesses. While I am glad to see the city's real estate office evaluating the utility of city-owned parking lots along priority transit corridors and driving intensification in these areas, I do not believe that approving this alley closure is in the public interest. There are too many unknowns surrounding how the LRT will be built in this area and a demonstrated utility in retaining this alley from the city's own alley management strategy. It would be premature to rule out the future use of this alley without a better understanding of what the area will look like after the LRT. Ultimately, my recommendation to the committee today is to deny or indefinitely table this application. I would also suggest that the governing policy for disposing of alleys and roads, which is Bylaw 14204, be given a comprehensive review to align with the contemporary priorities of this council. The bylaw does not contain any evaluation criteria to determine the importance of an alley beyond circulating to city divisions for comment. It doesn't even include any reference to the alleyway classification system, as this was developed in 2019 and the bylaw was last revised in 2014. I would suggest that all alleys should be considered important and that the public, as a policy rather, should encourage their retention and provide specific circumstances where closures may be permitted. In these circumstances, transparent evaluation criteria and evidence-based decision-making procedures should be used to evaluate when private interests may outweigh the public interest in maintaining the existing alley network.
Mr.
However,
Roy,
if you are, sorry.
are you almost finished?
I have like one line, one sentence.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will let you continue then. One line.
However, if you are compelled by the application before you and would like it to proceed, I would encourage that you consider including a condition that to divert the alley to the southern portion of the subject site. This would allow for the development on the bulk of the site to continue while allowing for the continued use of the identified Class A alleyway for businesses in the community on that one portion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pierre. And I'm looking at the list. I do not see any speakers, so you're welcome to stay online and listen to other speakers, and you're welcome to stay, okay?
Great, thank you.
Oh, Councillor Wilson, okay.
Thank you. Very appreciative of this delegate. I thought I heard Delegate Roy reference, I think in his opinion, maybe some best practices elsewhere in communities that are approaching their alleyways strategically. If I misheard that, I apologize. But if I didn't, I would love some more information on that front through the chair.
Okay, Pierre?
Through the chair, thank you for the question, Councillor Wilson. Some other cities, I believe, do have policies. I was focusing more on what I could find from Hamilton at this point. I did find the alleyway classification strategy, which was in 2019. That was what the city came about with from GM Blue Plan, a consultant, about classifying the alleys as Class A through E in terms of importance and maintenance standards and whatnot. So that's the one front. That's like a citywide strategy. But then there's also this Metrolinx or city LRT office study, or they call that an alleyway strategy as well, I suppose, along the corridor. And I'm not aware of what the status of that or what the outcome of that particular report was, but I would imagine that it would be supportive of using the alleys during construction as a way to support businesses and also as a way to service businesses after construction is completed. There were some news articles in the spec from 2016 to 2018 about that kind of thing. I didn't get a complete picture on it, but I do believe that they are important along business corridors, but also in neighborhoods for vehicles and servicing and getting things off the streets when we can to keep the streets open for pedestrians or for the LRT or for transit and other priorities.
Thank you, Pierre.
Thank
Councillor?
you. Thank you very much.
All right. I don't see anyone else, so thank you again. Next, we're going to have Bill King and to come down. And if this is your first time, we'll give you 5 minutes. The bell rings at 4, and then we'll give you an extra minute. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pauls and members of the committee. Actually, the previous speaker, Mr. Roy, took a lot of things I wanted to say out of my mouth, but I'll add a few more and directed more specifically to this particular alley off of East Avenue. I was also interested in the question that Alderman Wilson asked as to what other cities are doing, and I tried to find that out because I wanted to include it today too. It's hard to find. I think it's now because Google AI is answering not the question you asked, but I'm going to spend a little more time and try to find some cities that have really capitalized on their alleys, and I will take the liberty of sending it to you if I come up with any guidance. But I wrote my down what I wanted to say so I don't exceed 5 minutes, hopefully. The alley in question is part of an almost continuous alley between Houston and Wentworth Streets. It's almost continuous because a proposal just like this one was approved a long time ago, and the alley was closed between Emerald and Tisdale for housing development. Despite this discontinuity, the alley is still one of the few almost continuous alleys north of King Street. And I would suggest to you that it is valuable now, and it could be much more valuable in the future if it's kept intact. The report from your staff refers to closing a small portion, but that just makes the problem worse. When you snip out a portion of an alley, you create a blind alley, and because they don't go anywhere, they become trouble spots. They become dumps, and they attract people who want a hidden place where nobody else goes for whatever reason. At the present time, the alleys of Hamilton don't look like much, but they really are a part of the fabric and character of downtown Hamilton. I can tell you on the basis of the downtown Hamilton walking tours, which I've done for quite a few years now, that the alleys are among things that people really like about their city. The problem at present is the perception that the alleys are unsafe. The problem, I think, is exaggerated, and I'm hoping it will disappear with time. I've walked the alleys for decades without any problem, and for me, they're a way of getting around because I don't have a car. This brings up the question of what the tangible benefits of alleys are, and I wrote down a couple of the ones I can think of. They're a means of transit or a way of getting somewhere. They keep you off busy streets. They are interesting and charming to walk in, and the trip seems much faster. They are shaded. That's very important when we're having heat like the kind we had this summer. The LRT is eventually going to place a great deal more stress on King Street, and I've seen the suggestion that during construction, businesses on King Street may want to take advantage of alley access to their premises. Among other suggestions, another suggestion which is becoming increasingly popular is that we try to reduce urban sprawl with alley housing, and we now have some of it in Hamilton, both downtown and on the mountain. And our alleys will be useful for such housing in the future, but not if they are turned into dead ends. So let's keep that option open. I realize that affordable housing is a necessity, or an important necessity, but I urge you to look. I urge you to avoid the pitfall of focusing on one big problem in such a way that may create other problems down the road. There are ways to integrate development with the alleys. Now, the previous gentleman mentioned diverting the alley around the building, which is one way of doing it, but you can also put a path through an open area, like a surface parking, and you can even do it by creating an arcade, which is a pedestrian passage through the building. And I wanted to suggest to you, as an aside, that with regard to the Gore buildings on King Street, which recently fell down with some help, when that site's developed, I would really urge you to think about trying to get a couple of pedestrian arcades through from King Street to Main Street. I think that would do a lot to facilitate the circulation of pedestrian traffic downtown. That's just an aside. Thank you for allowing me to make these few comments. I'm hopeful that the alleys are part of Hamilton's legacy for future generations, and I'd ask you to think of Hamilton's alleys not as a nuisance, but as the pedestrian equivalent of a bicycle path, but much cheaper because they're already there. And I had one more thing I wanted to say. I've written on this. Also, hopefully, we can envision a downtown which eventually in a generation is safe and clean, and people will look back and they'll wonder why anybody ever thought of snipping our alleys up or closing them. That's all I have to say. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, thank you, Mr. King. You could stay there because we do have some speakers on the list. Councillor Nan.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question for you, Bill King, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you walked down the alleyway that is the subject of matter of this report?
Yes.
Yeah. And so you know it's discontinuous at East Avenue and only goes across to Victoria and then stops before West Avenue as well?
Yes, I think that's the discontinuity I referred to between East and Emerald.
Mm-hmm. And you're aware the building on East and King is the building very notoriously known in Ward 3 as being a building with the facade that fell down?
Is that, so it's behind that one?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to clarify if you were aware of exactly what we're talking about.
Yes.
Thank you.
There's another obstruction, but I think it's an illegal build-out, but that's for another time. And by the way, there's also an organization that cleans up alleys, which I participate in, and so does Alderman Nan, and it's nice to see councillors take the trouble to clean up our alleys as well as their many other duties.
Thank you, Mr. King. I actually have a question. I'll pass it to Councillor Francis. I don't live there. I've never been in those alleys, but do you know about some are unassumed and some are assumed? Does those alleys get cleaned in the winter, or are they just blocked?
I don't know if the city cleans them in the winter, but I'm able to walk through many of them in the winter. And I know that in certain parts of town, the residents take a little more interest. And sorry, do you mean clean or snow plowed?
I mean, when it snows and the snow is so high, are they clean for people to go by?
I don't know.
Do you go there in the winter?
I do, but maybe others might not want to.
No, so they're unassumed, right? We do not clean them.
I think the unassummed are the ones where the city does nothing.
Right.
They're just sort of overgrown. The assumed ones, I don't know how much you do, but I use them all year round.
Okay. I just wanted to know if they clean them or not, and actually I should ask the staff.
Through the chair, Carolyn Ryle,
Through the
Director of
chair.
Transportation.
Oh.
I think we have to receive the delegation first and then the questions at the end.
Okay, you know what? We'll receive your delegation.
Okay.
Then we'll ask the staff for your questions, okay? Thank you. Thank you again, Mr. King. Okay, so can I have a mover and a seconder, please, to...
Can we?
Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other members of the public wishing to address this committee? For the second time, are there any other members of the public wish to come forward to speak to this matter? And for the third time, and this is the final time, are there any members of the public who wish to come forward to speak on this matter? Okay, I don't see anybody, so we are going to have a mover and a seconder to receive the delegation. And I have who wants to move it? Councillor Kassar? Councillor Nan? Well, I need to see your hand up or else I'll pick somebody. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder, and show of hands, please. Okay. Okay, now, your show of hands? Okay. So it passes. Thank you. Okay, may I have a mover and a seconder to close the public meeting? Mover, Councillor Nan, Councillor Kassar, thank you. And this one, we need an electronic vote, please. Okay. It's loading. The first vote always takes longer for some reason. Please wait while the content is loading. Oh, yes, there it is. And it passes 13-0. Thank you. Okay, now we're on the report. May I please have a mover and a second to approve the report? Councillor Nan. And I'll use Councillor Kassar as well. All right. Are there any question or any discussion on the committee respecting the report? Councillor Nan. Actually, you know what? I know you're not on the list. What's going on here? Did I miss something?
No.
Okay,
I'm just making sure you can see my hand, Chair. That's all.
I can see your hand.
Okay, great.
But am I going by the speakers list or am I going by hands? I want to know.
Your choice. You're the chair.
Well, it's your ward? this alley, so we'll go for you. Okay. And then Councillor Crouch, and then I have a couple of questions.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Okay,
Sorry
thank
for
you.
trumping anybody on the list.
Okay, I don't know what's funny.
Just a couple quick questions
Okay.
to staff, if I could. So just to help locate the alleyway that I'm very familiar with. It's been the subject of a lot of reports and a lot of concerns and emails from residents in terms of the negative activity that is often taking place there. And I know that our city services have a hard time keeping the municipal lot clean from illegal dumping, a lot of litter. There's a beautiful no dumping sign there, and yet we continue to see a lot of garbage. Signs don't work, I know. There's a proven track record that signs don't work. But nonetheless, if I could just get confirmation from staff that this alleyway either bisects two municipal lots that are city-owned parking, or if it is the alleyway that is just south, directly behind the row of buildings on King Street. If you could clarify, please.
Okay, Director Hollingsworth?
Yeah, through the chair, I'll start out since we were the primary authors of the report, but noting that we're really just looking after the legal aspects of the closure, and I believe Danielle Samedi may be on the line from the real estate office, should there be any questions in that regard. Through Councillor Nan, you have identified the alley correctly as the former director of parking. We were very familiar with that alleyway. It's one and the same as the parking lots. Yeah. It was quite difficult to maintain that lot, both from a garbage perspective and a security perspective. So, yeah. And I would note that the report was circulated to all departments, and the comments are from each department are in the report.
Yeah, thank you. And so for my colleagues around the room, I referenced in response to one of the delegates who was speaking, the infamous building where the facade has fallen off on King Street, sitting there on the corner of East, right across the street from an elementary school that has been closed in terms of pedestrian access, but then reopened. All this to say, for many of my colleagues who may walk in that area, may drive by that area, you're actually very familiar with the activity that's taking place here. And so by parceling this alleyway with the municipal lot for consideration for affordable housing is directly the right kind of community enrichment, investment and support that we actually need in this neighborhood. More housing is our collective interest across the city, but from a problematized geographic area just adjacent to the downtown, it is not an alleyway that is congruent, that is being used currently in a way to support children to get to that elementary school, to support community members to get from Victoria Street, which is 4 lanes, and then crossing over to West Avenue for a dead-end alleyway. It is unfortunately not one of those alleyways, right? So from this perspective, I'm fully in favor of staff's recommendations here and look forward to committee support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. All right, Councillor Crouch, please.
Thanks. Just to make sure I understand this, because it's right up against the border of Ward 2 in a way. So I'm trying to understand if I have this correctly. This alleyway series is what I would consider in Ward 2 an offset alleyway series, meaning that there's not a completely clear path through the series of alleyways, but they're all slightly offset by about a driveway's width. And if I look at the map correctly, and I'm just asking staff this question, is this the same alleyway that gets from Emerald through to East, and then slightly offset goes from East to Victoria, across Victoria to West, slightly offset goes through the park at Wellington and ends up at Wellington and King? Am I understanding that that's a free passage through that those 4 blocks through this alleyway system? I think it is, and I think I've walked there several times. I'm just making sure.
Through the chair, looking at Google Maps, I think you were close. It does pass through some between West and Wellington. It sort of passes through a parking lot, so it's contiguous in some parts, discontiguous in others.
Yeah,
but it's the alleyway north of King Street.
Yeah, so from my perspective, this provides some access between Emerald and Wellington. The reason I mention it is because if this was coming up in Ward 2, I'd oppose it because we have very, very, very few alleyways left, and most of them are gone. for this exact reason, because we put a development in an alleyway, and then that alleyway cut part of a system off, and then it was gone forever. And so once we start doing that, we go down that road, it's a domino effect, and that's why there's almost no alleyways left in Ward 2 you can walk through anymore. So I guess what I'm asking is, like, I'm not in Ward 3, and frankly, the alleyway network there is really strong, right? So there's a really strong alleyway network in Ward 3. It's almost a perfect grid for most of the ward. It's actually remarkable. And so, not saying I want to stand in the way of this, I'm just saying that I hope there can be a conversation with the people who are developing this to say, look, if we have to add a story to the top of the building to have a little few more units, because we might lose a few if we put a little archway or a tunnel or a walkway or an arcade, as some suggest, we should do that if we can. I think the delegation that Pierre gave earlier is virtually the same delegation I gave 6 years ago here, where I came and talked about the disintegration of the alleyway network across our city, and the fact that we're not programming them. Councillor Nan is right. They're not currently in a state of repair or a state of use where we're getting a lot out of them. It's not like some of the alleyways you see around the city, which have turned into sort of bike boulevards, or the one near the hospital we tried to do and make into something better for people. It's not got that level of investment in it. And so, unfortunately, it's not desirable for the city to keep it, and so there's not going to be this want and desire to keep it. I'm just suggesting and flagging that this is an ongoing issue, and that every time we build over a piece of an alleyway, right, it does disrupt the network for pedestrians who are trying to get around, and many people use this network because it's not safe to walk on King Street. It's not safe to walk on Main Street in most sections. And the reason it's not safe is because there's lots of speeding traffic and people trying to cross here and there, and so people feel like they want to have a conversation with someone they're walking with, or they want to walk their dog, or whatever they might want to do. They use the alleyway network to do that primarily in downtown, my experience. So I'm just raising those flags and concerns because I think we have to balance the need for development and affordable housing, but also walkability and pedestrian safety. If we don't activate these spaces and make them into wonderful places to use, we lose them.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, I'm going to turn the chair to Councillor Francis. My question before was, now I don't know about this specific alleyway. I do not live downtown. I live up on the mountain, Ward 7. I know I saw a few of them on the mountain. I'm just wondering, I support the councillor, of course, and the staff. I just want so the public to know the reasons our policies that says we sell some alleyways and the difference between assumed and unassumed alleyways.
Through the chair, I think there were multiple questions there, and the first one might be best taken by real estate.
Okay. And who's here from real estate?
If they're online.
If they're online? Well, our policy as a city for selling alleyways, what is our policy?
Through the chair, I believe it's a case-by-case review. Exactly as this report, a proposal comes, it's reviewed by staff, it's engineering services because corridor management is under engineering services. We coordinate the reviews, working with the proponent, in this case being real estate, and report on the comments, and then the report makes a recommendation and council has the opportunity to consider it.
Okay, thank you for that. And I know in Ward 7, we saw a few of them. The second question was, so the public knows, what does it mean assumed and unassumed alleyways?
Dave Lamont's on the line and can provide a very technical definition.
Okay, thank you. It's just so the public knows, because I heard the first delegate say, yeah, assume. I just want the public to know what we're dealing with here when we talk about alleyways.
Okay. Be careful what you ask for. David Lamont, I'm manager of Jim Angus Corridor Management, and through the chair, an alleyway is created by a plan of subdivision. Okay, that fulfills the dedication and the acceptance, so it becomes a city asset. Mm-hmm. The assumed and unassumed elements are how we use the asset. So prior to the Municipal Act of 2002, any municipal money spent on an alleyway would move that unassumed alleyway into an assumed or a point of assumption, okay, which means that there's a different characteristics associated with it. And the unassumed one, up until that time, was still remaining in that state. After the changing of the rewriting of the Municipal Act in 2002, the only way to move an alleyway from unassumed to assumed is by bylaw. Okay, so there's no currently there's no, if there's general maintenance being done on an unassumed alleyway, it doesn't automatically become assumed, which gives council the opportunity to control how the characteristics of any public highway is being treated. So it's typically the unassumed state is people can use it the way it is, and the assumed state is there's an understanding that there should be some type of maintenance associated with that. But I believe our friends in transportation should comment on the expenditures that relate to the maintenance level of it, because I think there is the traffic volumes and such that need to be taking place, and maybe we can have help with that.
Thank you. You know what? I regret asking that question. Thank you for your answer. I just wanted to be clear. I think it's that we don't take responsibility for the ones that are unassumed, right? Because we don't clean them. So if anything happens, it's not on. Am I getting it right, Director Royale? Can you?
Through the chair. So there is a nominal amount of maintenance dollars that we have annually in the budget that deal with assumed alleyway. So it typically is on a case-by-case basis. We're not out snow plowing. If we get calls about litter or weeds, or if there's something happening in there that we need to help address, we'll go out, and it's typically on a case-by-case basis for the assumed. In looking at the minimum maintenance standards, which is something we talk about with regards to the roads that's set out by the province, alleyways are not identified in there as something that has a specific level of service. That's up to the municipality to do. So we do have a nominal budget that deals with alleyways, and it typically is on a case-by-case. But just to clarify, we are not plowing alleyways as part of our level of service during the winter.
Matt, you have the chair. Okay, I'll take the chair back. Okay, thank you. Thank you. And thank you. And like I said, I support the report, and Councillor Nance, so we'll move on from that. All right, so did we have a vote? Did I do that? Oh, we still need to vote. Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder, though. Okay, so we'll go electronic vote, please. Okay, passes 12-1. Okay, thank you. Okay, item 9, items for consideration, PW 25055. First of all is the feasibility of relocating of the Kenora transfer station. May I please have a mover and a seconder, Councillor Francis and Councillor Beatty, thank you. And we will put this report on the floor. Is there any discussion? Councillor Francis.
I don't have any questions, just discussion. Should I have that now?
Yes, discussion.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. And I appreciate this report. I'm happy to see this moving to the next phase with the end goal to move this dump away from the rapidly changing area. And to be clear, this isn't the community recycling center. This is just the transfer station that accepts the daily waste from residents. This report outlines as well at the very end in staff's recommendation that in 2037, this dump will be at capacity, and it's my understanding that should this plan move forward, this site will then be sold and could be an opportunity for more surface parking should Metrolinx identify that need, and there could be other uses for this as well. I was at the Centennial GO station this morning, or Confederation GO station rather, and with the mayor and the premier, the transport minister, the media, and I could just tell you how exciting this is, this opportunity, and how this is going to positively benefit not just my community, but our entire city. And especially if we could bring housing investment to this vicinity and support that growth by way of this report. This entire corridor will see significant housing growth within the Centennial Neighborhood Secondary Plan, and I'm very supportive of housing within walking distance of this GO station with all the nearby amenities, our waterfront, Confederation Beach Park, the waterfront trail. This is exactly where we should be building housing and building our city and keeping 8-story buildings out of the dead center of our single-family neighborhoods. So with all that context, I'm highly supportive of this report and the economic growth that will occur as a direct result of the relocation of this dump. So have to support this and move this. Thank you.
Good news this morning. Thank you. All right, so we need a mover and a second. We got that. There's a speakers list. Councillor Wang.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I'm supportive of this as well. I think that 1579 Burlington has already served a significant purpose in terms of some of our waste and recycling, and it is a fiscally responsible solution to changing from the Kenora transfer station to this location. My question is, what are the additional environmental compliance that are potentially needed for this site? Because it already does have a significant amount of ECA compliance on there, so I don't understand what is on above and beyond. What else do we need to do for this site?
Who would like to answer that?
Thank you for the question. Through the chair, Joel McCormick, Acting Director of Waste Management. So you're correct in saying that 1579 Burlington Street does have environmental compliance approvals for waste processing and waste transferring, but it's not specific to the transfer station operations. It's specific more to material recycling facility like Blue Box Materials and a Green Cart organic processing. So what is required for citing a new location, which this is technically would be a new location, is the next step being the environmental site assessment, which is site specific, looking at more of the history of the property, possible contamination or anything that might be associated with that property in itself. But as you start going through the process, there is an environmental assessment, and the environmental assessment, which is required through the Ministry of the Environment, which then focuses on odor impact, off-site impacts, traffic studies, a whole gamut of studies that need to be done with public transparency and giving the opportunity for the public to have questions and to comment on the whole process.
Okay. My second question through you, Chair, is if we look at the report, Site 1, which is our, again, 1579 is city-owned, we own that in Ward 4. So the estimated project cost is between $27 million and $49 million. That's a huge amount of dollars for that range. So could you give me an understanding of what the low end really looks like or what the high end really looks like? Just because I'd like to understand what the scenarios are for what is the low end versus what is the high end for $49 million.
Okay, through the chair, if I'm understanding correctly, it depends on what is needed. Just looking at the info here. Further items need to be investigated prior to any type of construction to take place, and it also depends on the cost. So when going through the approval process, there's costs for ECA amendments, there's costs to do the assessments in and itself, an environmental assessment. That all depends on the situation, and that hasn't been fleshed out yet at this point. But there's also looking at the site condition, as we talked about with the environmental site assessment, where that helps identify what can be built and what the soils are like and the condition of the soils. Another example would be that there currently is a foundation of the old Firestone Foundation at that location that would have to be removed. We don't know what the cost of that removal is. It's been discussed many a times over many years, and it's ranged from $1 million to $5 million. So it really does depend on the process that we go through in determining what is needed. So the cost here is very high level.
Yeah, because that was my concern, is that the Firestone, the old remnants of the Firestone plant is hugely contaminated, and then thinking about adding more waste onto that site, and knowing and by we I mean all three levels of government has spent a significant amount of remediation from Randall Reef, so that being right next door. So I think that there's a lot of complicating factors that might happen. So I just wanted to make sure that as we are going forward on this next step, that all of those factors have been considered because of the Firestone, because of Randall Reef, because of close proximity to water. There's a lot going on that site, despite the fact that it is already zoned, it's already been used like that. I just want to make sure that we're not further contaminating an area where we've spent millions of dollars to clean it up. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Wang. And we have a mover and a seconder on this, so we're going to vote electronic, please. And it passes 13-0. Thank you. We're going to move on to bus replacement capital project. May I please have a mover and a seconder to put the report on the floor? Councillor Beatty and Councillor Kretsch. Before we ask any questions, should we do a recap of this? Does anybody want to have a recap? No? No recap? Just go straight to questions and discussion? Okay. So who's on the list? Nobody's on the list. Okay. Councillor Spadafora, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just have one question. GM Kennedy, I don't know if you would know the answer or if it's a finance question. So the cost is being borne out of the HSR reserve. Is that reserve prescribed like some of the other ones, like DC reserves or our building reserve? Is the HSR reserve something that can only be spent directly on transit? So this money, it's not like we can take it and put it somewhere else. So just clarification, please, through you, Chair.
Hi. GM, thank you.
So I'm just looking at Acting Director Jeff Drummond, who's here for transit today. I don't think that he's got the details on that either. I do think you're correct, through the chair, to the councillor, that it's a question really for finance.
That's fine. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Well, okay. Well, Councillor Cooper, we'll have you ahead of you because you're not you'll be the last one to ask a question, if that's okay. Councillor Beatty, please.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. I think my question is going to be similar to Councillor Spadafora's, but maybe I'll try to flesh it out a little differently, and perhaps somebody will be able to offer a response. What I understand, typically in vehicle replacement, equipment replacement scenarios, is almost, day one when a new vehicle is purchased, we're already planning for its replacement at some place down the road. We start putting money aside into individual reserves for that replacement. And there's a prescribed and scheduled plan, for lack of a better term, that by the time we get to the end of life expectancy of a particular piece of equipment, we've already put enough aside into that little piggy bank off to the side for its replacement cost. What I think this report is asking for, and I guess I'm looking for verification, is that we are delineating from the current plan to accelerate it, to use money that's set aside for a different time frame, move it up so that we're able to spend that money now to take advantage of the federal funding opportunity that's outlined in this. Have I got that summary relatively correct? We're accelerating a plan that we already have using money we've already saved to take advantage of the federal program to get more money for the replacement.
Acting Director.
All right, through the chair, this is Acting Director Jeff Poljanski. You are really, really close. I think the only part that I would like to clarify is, yes, we do put the money aside on a 12-year bus life cycle, When it comes to the ask, is what we're asking for is the permission to engage with a PO. The funds will actually be issued and spent in the year that we're purchasing, but it is to align with the CPTF funding so that we can maximize the $6.2 million return.
Okay. Then follow-up question. Thank you for the answer. Good to know that I was close. What you're asking for then is authorization from this body and eventually from council, should it be ratified, to enter into a purchase order, a purchase agreement to authorize the expenditure of the funds that have already been set aside.
Correct.
In order to take advantage of the additional federal funding.
Correct.
Okay. I think I've got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And Councillor Councillor Wang, please.
Thank you. I almost got it too, because we, this past month, we also had a special GIC that talked about HSR Next. So where is the strategy behind this? Is this part of the last 10-year strategy, or is this part of HSR Next? Just so that I'm kind of clear as to how we're lumping this into a larger strategy and we're not doing this as a one-off.
Okay. Through the chair, it's a good question. This one here is just replacement vehicles. This is to maintain the level of service that we deliver today. It is not part of a growth strategy, which is the 10-year local transit strategy and HSR Next. So it is going to replace any buses on a 12-year life cycle that come due for replacement. As we add more vehicles to the fleet through the HSR Next plan or through the previous 10-year local transit strategy, those would be 12 years down the road. This is only capturing the next 5 years right now.
Okay.
Councillor Wang.
Thank you.
No more question. We have Councillor Jackson, please.
Good afternoon, Chair Pauls. Thank you. I just need to ask in my own way here, through you to Acting Director Jeff Poljaski. So it's 18 buses you wish to purchase, Jeff, through you, Chair Pauls?
Through the chair, that is correct. It's 18 articulated buses we're looking to purchase.
Okay.
Which are the 60-foot buses.
Those are those, I dubbed them the long slinky buses, correct?
That is correct.
Good, okay. Sorry for the retro term. Anyways, okay, also through you, Chair Pauls, to the Acting Director. So if we move ahead with this recommendation, we are eligible for $6.2 million from the Canada Public Transit Fund. If we get that 6.2, I subtract that from your paragraph 126, which leaves us 20 million municipally to come up with, through you, Chair Pauls. Can you confirm that or correct me, Acting Director?
Acting Director?
Right, through the chair. That would be a rough estimation. That is correct, that we would pay the 26 million first, and then they would reimburse us the 6.2 should the qualifying money be spent within the fiscal year of the MTO.
And that fiscal year being, please, Acting Director?
That is April 1st to March 31st.
Okay, so we have till March 31st of next year, okay. And again, you have the 20 million net, hopefully will be eligible for the 6.2. 20 million, as Councillor Spadafora began, you have that in your reserves. There'll be no budget pressure, no net impact to the 26 levy. Through you, Chair Pauls, please.
Acting Director?
Yep, through the chair, that is correct. I just wanted to make one note there. You said that it had to be spent before March 31st of 2026. It's actually spent after. Right? So it's April 1st, 2026 through to March 31st, 2027.
Oh, okay, even more time. That's good. So thank you for all those answers, Acting Director. I'm satisfied, raises my comfort level. Let's just hope the feds come through, unlike the second bus barn where the original $250 million amount was tri-party. The $146 million overage, unfortunately, was 100% to municipal taxpayers. Thank you, Chair Pauls.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. All right, and it's my pleasure to introduce Councillor Cooper. Question.
Thank you, Chair Pauls. So I understand this federal funding eligible capital projects is a one-year plan?
Director?
Through the chair, sorry, could you repeat the last part there?
Is this a federal funding eligible capital project, 40%, if you want to say subsidy, is it a one-year plan or is it an ongoing plan, or how long does that go on for?
All right, through the chair, it is a 10-year plan, and we are on the first level, the first section, sorry, of 5 years. And what we're asking for is to get approval to commit to purchase for the previous, or for the next year in this year, because there is an 18 to 24-month lead time on actually building a bus from the time we issue a PO. So this is for the 18 buses that will be for purchase for 2026, but we need approval in 2025 to place the order and get the build going.
So in order to cap out the subsidy, the max purchase we could do is around 15.5 million, because once we hit the 6.2 million, at that point we're not getting 40% back anymore, correct?
That is correct, on an annual basis.
Right. So then I'm wondering, why did we move the entire plan up when we could have moved 15.5 up and smoothed it out over the number of years so we could maximize the amount of money we're getting back?
So the plan, through the chair, the plan was all moved up every single year based on a replacement of our fleet so that we could keep a 12-year life cycle for each series of vehicles that needed to be replaced.
So our original plan was to start in 2026, and I can understand it's moved up to 2025 with 15.5 million of it, but we could leave it the way we had it and really smooth it out so we're taking full advantage of this this federal subsidy.
Through the chair, I think each year, if you look at the chart on page 3, there will be a spend of over $15.5 million every single year. And smoothing it out, if we were to smooth out the spend, would mean that vehicle replacement would have to be postponed and put onto a separate purchase order.
Let me try this one more time. So if we were to, original amount was starting in 2026 at 26.3 million. If we just went with 2025 at 15.5 and continued down the original schedule, but smoothing out really to the 15.5 until you hit the higher spend in later years, I think we'd be in a better situation, wouldn't we, with respect to the subsidies we'd be getting back?
Through the chair, sorry, I'm not sure I quite understand, because if we're maxing out at 6.2 million, we have to spend the 15.5. Due to a fleet replacement schedule of 12 years, the quantity of vehicles in order to purchase to make each of one of those years, the payments, that's why there's a fluctuation in price. So roughly about $1.3 million for an articulated vehicle. We have to replace 18 of them. That's roughly about $26 million. There are some upfitting costs, such as Presto conversions, fare boxes, et cetera, that have to go into vehicles. But each year, that's what we're looking at for what makes up that 15 million, the 15.6, and the 37 million, and so on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Great questions. So, speakers list. I don't see anyone else on the speakers list, so we're going to, I need a mover and a seconder. We've got one? Who were they? I forgot.
Councillor Beatty moved it and Councillor Cretch seconded it.
Okay, thank you. I didn't write it down, so thank you. Okay. We're going to go Evo, please, on this item. Councillor McMeekin, do you want to put your thumb up here? Are you voting? Okay, it's 13-0. Thank you. Okay, 9.3, Wimberley Avenue Bicycle Lane Review. May I please have a mover and a second to put the report on the floor? Councillor McMeekin. And is there any discussion? Okay. You want to second it? Okay, sure. Mover and a second. Councillor Spadafora. Yeah. Is there any discussions? I don't, okay, Councillor McMeekin. It's not on the list here, so.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. I don't have much to say. About 7 months ago, citizens came and raised an issue about finding a compromise around bike lanes, pedestrian traffic, car traffic on Wimberley, which dead ends at what will one day be the Waterdown bypass. I think we're 30 years behind schedule on that, but someday. And the staff have taken time and had done a deep dive to their credit, and I want to thank Director Rael and her team for that. I'm a big believer in peace in the valley, and this looks like a good compromise that everyone who's been engaged can live with. It's the option one. It's a modified system that allows for local needs to be met without precluding the bicycle traffic that is important to many in our city. So those are my comments. I hope everybody supports the option one compromise.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. And all right, anybody else? Speakers list? No, I don't see any. So we're going to electronic vote, please. Okay, it's 13-0. Thank you for your vote. 9.4, amendments to the outstanding business list. Items considered completed and needing to be removed, 1 to 4. Can I please have a mover and a seconder to put the approved changes on the OBL? Councillor Beatty, Councillor Wang, thank you. Any discussions? I don't see any. Oh, yes, I do. I don't see it there. I see a hand. Thank you, Councillor Wang.
Chair, I'm just trying to buy a little bit of time because the minute that we vote on this, we go straight to motions, but Councillor Taddison is 10.1 and he's just in the washroom right now. So all I'm doing is literally drawing out a tiny amount of time.
It's okay, we can.
You order the motions? All right, I have no other comments, sorry,
Okay,
thank you.
no other comment except that Councillor Taddison is in the washroom. Okay, good. All right, thank you. Okay, we're going to have an electronic vote. Electronic vote on the amendment to the outstanding business list. And here it is, everybody. Thank you. We did do some stalling. Okay, no more stalling, okay? Do we know which one? Okay. Okay, everybody calm down. I'm the chair. Stop laughing. Okay, so it's 13-0. Thank you. Okay, we're going into our favorite thing, motions. And we're going to have Councillor Taddison, since he's back. Would you like to introduce your motion?
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Jeff Beatty. Installation of speed cushions as traffic calming measure on Glancaster Road. This is a road that's between wards 11 and 12. Whereas the City of Hamilton has adopted a Vision Zero approach which considers human error as part of the roadway safety equation, whereas residents of Glancaster Road from south of Dickinson Road west to the dead end in Ward 11 have raised significant safety concerns due to extremely high speed racing or speeding, drag racing, and speed testing of vehicles from nearby dealerships, creating a dangerous environment for the many family homes along this roadway. Whereas a resident petition for speed humps was completed in 2017, which included greater than 90% of the households in support, and based on recent further discussions between the ward council and residents, the great majority continue to strongly support the installation of speed cushions as a traffic calming measure. Whereas the Transportation Division completed a traffic calming warrant in 2025 for Glancaster Road between Dickinson Road West and the dead end, which determined the traffic calming is not technically warranted. Whereas the Transportation Division does not support the installation of speed cushions on Glancaster Road between Dickinson Road West and the dead end, which is an arterial roadway where speed cushions are regarded as incompatible for rural roads and they may introduce unintended safety risks. Whereas the Transportation Division was previously directed to develop and report back to the Public Works Committee on Rural Road Safety Toolbox to support safety enhancements for all road users, targeting a report back in Q4 2025. Whereas based on the final draft of the Rural Road Safety Toolbox, the Transportation Division recommends alternative traffic calming measures in this location, including vehicle lane narrowing, a reduced posted speed limit, dynamic speed feedback signage, and targeted enforcement in place of speed cushions. Whereas the community, in consultation with the ward councillor, has identified suitable locations for 2 speed cushions along Glancaster Road between Dickinson Road West and the dead end, which have not been confirmed by Transportation Division. Therefore, be it resolved that the Transportation Division be authorized and directed to install 2 speed cushions on Glancaster Road between Dickinson Road West and the dead end, approximately at 1165 Glancaster Road and between 1091 and 1107 Glancaster Road as a traffic calming measure and as part of the Transportation 2025 Speed Cushions Installation Program. That the installation of traffic calming measures on Glancaster be funded from the ward minor maintenance account at an upset limit, including contingency not to exceed $6,000, and that the general manager of Public Works and city clerk be authorized and directed to execute any required agreements and ancillary documents with such terms and conditions in a form satisfactory to the city solicitor. So, respectfully, I believe that 2 speed cushions on this dead-end stretch of road should be no different than any other placement where road staff and studies have determined speed cushion placement is not warranted, but councillors bring forward a petition. We do it all the time. As you've heard, there are issues that make this road different, as I've been told by staff, and I'm going to address those issues from my point of view. Staff say it's an arterial road. Though it's classified, in reality, it's not an arterial road. Here's a definition of an arterial road. An arterial road in Ontario is a major road designed to carry large volumes of traffic efficiently across urban and suburban areas, often connecting to highways, collector roads, and local roads. Glancaster South, it's a dead end. It's the south of Dickinson. It's not an arterial road. In the other parts of the road, yes, it may be an arterial road, but not here. It's a rural road. The staff say it's a rural road. We don't put speed bumps on rural roads. But I counter that. It's not a through road. It's a dead end. There's no curbs. People say another issue. They say there's no curbs. People will drive into the ditch to get around them. Then I say put up bullards. There's lots of streets in the south part of the city that don't have curbs. They have ditches, and we have speed cushions on them. Springside, Seneca, Aldercrest, Alderley all have speed cushions, and they don't have curbs. There's no lighting. Drivers could hit the speed cushion and fly into the ditch. I believe reflective paint and signage should be enough for visibility. After all, I drive my rural roads every day at night, and I see stop signs, I see speed signs and speed limit signs at night that don't have lights. So for me, the lighting's not a huge issue. Again, fellow councillors, that's what makes sense to me. I hope you can see my point of view. I don't think people should be driving so fast that they're going to fly off the road when they hit a speed bump anywhere at any time in the city. My compassion and my ask is that we support the people that live on this road and their petition for speed cushions. Support the people that want to walk and bike and drive safely on the road without the drag racing, the speeding, and the testing that occurs. The residents, and I believe that speed cushions will work. The other factors, they may deter, but I believe, the residents believe speed bumps will work. Please support the residents of this road. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor, and we have a growing list here, so we're going to go with Councillor Cratch first.
Thanks. So I think Councillor Chattison summarized what are likely some of the safety concerns that staff are worried about with respect, unforeseen with respect to things like no curbs, and then listed a bunch of other places where this intervention was taken in the past. Can someone from staff really define for me, we've changed the standards over the years as to how the reasons we put speed cushions in and speed bumps in certain areas. We've learned more over time as to why not to do that. There's all kinds of legacy stuff around the city. We're not necessarily going back and digging up old things that may be unsafe, but can you explain or unpack maybe some of the safety concerns you have here for doing this? For suggesting this isn't the appropriate place to put them, should I say?
Okay.
Through the chair, Carolyn Ryle, Director of Transportation. So I'll start and then I'm going to pass it over to Manager Field because he just has the history and the legacy of how these have sort of transitioned through the multiple years. So with regards to the safety, when we're dealing, so the councillor was correct, and thank you, councillor. We did have a meeting with the councillor, and we appreciate you being so transparent on what you wrote in the motion based on our conversation and allowing the conversation for today. So a rural cross section as well as an arterial road, we don't put speed cushions on them. That is, there's no roads in the city that are rural, identified rural, or that are arterials that have speed cushions for a number of safety reasons. And I'll pass it over to Manager Field. He'll give some of the legacy as to how where we started and where we've come to on this.
Manager Field.
Through the chair to the councillor, I'm going to go through some information that we shared with the councillor in our meeting as well, because I think it's important. We don't have any speed cushions on any rural roads in the city of Hamilton. It's not a practice that we've been using and not one that we recommend. It's not supported by the Transportation Association of Canada. In fact, they explicitly discourage humps on rural roadways, and MTO makes that same suggestion as well. Lancaster Road, by definition, is an arterial roadway, but I agree that its use is not kind of in line with the definition of a rural roadway. It has a speed limit, a posted speed limit of 50 kilometers an hour. As the councillor mentioned, we did do, sorry, my computer just jumped. We did do some previous speed studies, traffic calming assessment. What we found during that is that the average speed limit or average speed was 49 kilometers an hour. 85th percentile speed was 59 kilometers an hour. The average daily traffic on that roadway was 157 vehicles a day. Within the 5 past years, there have only been one collision on the roadway, which was property damage only. Didn't involve any injuries for anyone. It was probably a parked car sideswipe type of thing. As it pertains to speed cushions itself on these roadways, we made mention within the report, the rural road safety report that is going on right now, which is going to be completed sometime later this year. So we asked the consultant, SEMA Plus, who's working on that, to take a look at Lancaster Road specifically against the request for speed cushions. And they recommended, just in meeting with the principles outlined in TAC and MTO, that it is not a good idea to install speed cushions on a rural road. They introduce a potential safety risk that doesn't exist now, and rather than mitigating that safety risk, it may make it worse. As discussed, rural roads often characterized by higher posted speed limits, greater operating speeds, limited or no lighting, and longer sight distances, all of which increase the likelihood of unexpected conflicts when vehicles encounter abrupt physical changes in the roadway. So in other words, we don't have speed cushions in a rural setting. It's not expected for drivers, even though it's a short segment. It's not something that they're used to seeing. And if they're speeding along that roadway and they hit a speed cushion, they could get themselves into some trouble. The consultant from that took the idea of traffic calming and applying the principles of the rural road safety report that's going to be upcoming to council. And as a precursor to that, the types of things that we'll see, they're recommending in place of speed cushions that we should consider narrowing the lanes by enhancing the existing pavement markings. We should reduce the posted speed limit. We should install oversized speed limit signage, install dynamic speed feedback signs, and do targeted speed enforcement on this roadway. I think that's the main points. In our speed cushion process report that we put forward last year, we also identified that as a municipality, And following the recommendations from the industry, we're not installing speed cushions, or we don't recommend installing speed cushions on arterial roadways or on rural roadways, that they're incompatible with those style of roadways. We should use other measures that I've kind of talked about that the consultant has provided.
Thank you. That was in-depth. Councillor Cratch.
That was more information than I asked for, but I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Good.
Can I just rewind the tape slightly to ask, is this a rural road? Is it in the urban boundary? Like, I'm just trying to understand the relationship between the urban boundary and the classification of this road.
It is on the boundary of the rural and urban boundaries. It is considered to be slightly within the urban boundary, but in form and function, it is a rural roadway. Steve, Acting Director Malloy, maybe, I don't know if you have anything additional to add to that.
So through the chair, Steve Malloy, Acting Director of Transportation and Planning. Mike is correct. It's kind of skirts the boundary of the urban and rural area, but I would want to note that it is fairly well planted within the AEGD, the Airport Employment Growth District. So the nature of that road, although as it stands today, will certainly change quite significantly in the future once the development builds out throughout that area, and there will be a significant increase in both traffic volume and truck traffic volume as well, and will maintain as its arterial road status.
Thank you. So in listening to those answers alone, I can't support this, and I'll explain why briefly, and then I'll take myself off the list. Right now in the motion, it says that the community and the ward councillor have determined some locations, but staff don't know if those locations are good for speed cushions. So not only do we know that speed cushions aren't designed for this kind of area and designed for this type of use on this type of roadway, but that they've not been confirmed by the Transportation Division as being the right way to go. I can understand if maybe council wanted to say to staff, hey, we think this is a really dangerous area. We want you to go back and look at some interventions and come back with a report and some suggestions of what you could do otherwise. I could support that. I'd really be honest with you, I don't think signs are going to do it. Being the Ward 2 City Councilor, I can tell you signs aren't going to do it. They're not going to do it. And there are many, many roadways in Ward 2 I'd love to install some speed cushions on. But because the classification and style of the roadway, we can't do that. I think once we go down this road, it's going to become more about what we believe than what the science or the traffic science tells us we should be doing. And that's the statements I heard today, is I believe this is what we should do here. I believe it's going to work. Fair enough. Believe it all you want. But I think we have to go by the standards we have. And we have to follow what the direction is coming forward with respect to the different kinds of road classifications. I believe if we put some speed cushions at the bottom of the Queen Street Hill, drivers would certainly slow down. But we can't do that because that's the road classification where speed cushions aren't allowed. It would certainly work, I'm assure you right now. And some people would definitely get hurt if we did that because no one expects to see a speed cushion at the bottom of a hill. Every resident on Queen Street South would support that in terms of trying to calm traffic down. But there'd be a bunch of safety mitigations. So I think it's a slippery slope. I'm not going to support it. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Crutch. Councillor Alex Wilson.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Apologies. I don't have the proposed AEGD Transportation Master Plan committed to heart. Does Glancaster Road stop being dead-ended in the future build-out of this road, or does the dead ending carry through in the projected changes for the area?
So through the chair, essentially what's called arterial 1N, which is kind of cuts through the property between the airport boundary and Dickinson Road, would bisect through Glancaster Road through its alignment, and that would continue on through Smith Road and eventually connect back into Book Road. So what that would do would essentially create a remnant, I would say between 100 and 150 meters south of that new intersection of Arterial 1N with Glancaster Road. We do have development applications in. We recently settled with that land called Broccolini land, where that arterial 1N would go through, and we have formal consultation for the development of employment lands west of Glancaster Road that would be serviced off of that dead end, future dead end, as well as access off of that future Arterial 1N as well as Glancaster Road as well.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you. And is there a timing for the beginning of that? So how long is the area remaining kind of residential before it's switching to an industrial area under construction?
Through the chair, that timing kind of depends on the ability to provide servicing through Dickinson Road, as well as the recently settled development to build out their phase 1 and phase 2. So it would be over the next, 2 to 5+ years, depending on various things that influence the pace of development through there.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, happy to listen to other folks on the speakers list. I think if the AGD wasn't coming here, I think I'd actually be quite receptive to the councillor's motion pending the right-of-way review, which we're doing this fall for all major roads. I think that the complication that I'm struggling with here is the fact that there's intensification and further bisections and kind of cutting through the roadways plan. So it's not staying a dead end, or it's not staying that kind of lower residential area. It's in the urban area. So I think I think this is an interesting case, and I'll say that this is a unique case across the city, and happy to hear the rest of the discussion. I appreciate the ward councillor bringing this forward for sure.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Beatty, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, seconding the motion, and we'll continue to support it. And I guess I just want to highlight as a comment, I don't have any questions, that we have these road classifications, very technical classifications that govern how we sort the roads and how we put them into boxes and how we classify them, how we move them around within our own system. And then there's a practical application of when you're actually standing there on the road, how does it function? How is the actual practical function? That functions as a dead-end street. So if you picture a dead-end street, I guess we can draw our own conclusions as to what kind of reality would be on that street. I also want to just kind of go into my thought process, and I always try to envision specific circumstances within my own ward that I would have a higher knowledge base. I look at this particular road. It is a rural road. It has ditches on either side. It's designed in a certain way. But I have rural roads similarly in my ward that have ditches on either side, considered a rural cross section, happens to be within the urban boundary, similar to this. We approved around this table the opportunity to install 6 speed cushions on that particular road. And it functions very similarly, and it looks very similar. If I was to blindfold somebody and take them to either one of those roads in my ward or in Councillor Tattison's ward, I don't think you would see too much different in the practical application of it. So I do understand where staff are coming from. I know that there are technical requirements. I know that there are boxes that these things need to fit into, and I know that we don't like to color outside the lines on these things. But I am very supportive of the concept that the practical reality of what individual residents are experiencing on a day-to-day basis on the street, on a dead end, is such that the ward councillor is responding appropriately, I think, to hear that voice and to offer to make a remedy that will offer them the kind of peace of mind that they're looking for. Acknowledging that in the future this road will probably be completely redesigned, blown up and redone in an urban format, and that might change how the look and the feel in a practical sense are in the future. It might require additional changes, but we'll get to that when we get to it. For here and now, the practical reality on the street is to bring some peace of mind and calm, I would suggest, to the residents, and that's what I'm hoping that we're able to do for them.
Thank you, Councillor Beatty. We have Councillor Ted McMeekin, please.
Yeah, thanks, Deputy Mayor. I hesitate to get too involved in this, although I want to express my always appreciation for Councillor Tattison, who does his homework and comes in and makes a good, usually elongated case for what he wants to see happen. And that's a good sign that he actually is striving to make sure that we understand that he understands what he's doing. I want to just put that on the record. Rural roads in general, and I want to just talk to that. In terms of speeding and enforcement are really difficult. No matter how many times we get concerns up in my ward about speeding on concession 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, right? There's very little enforcement. And I understand that, you know, parking a police officer with a radar gun there all day at Lord knows what cost, you know, to catch a few speeders is when you've got really, really busy streets downtown and even in Ward 15, you know, there's wisdom to being where the pressure is even stronger. I had put a lot of hope, frankly, in these mobile speed cameras, thinking that even putting them occasionally on rural roads on a rotating basis would slow people down. You know, in the absence now of that option, I think we need to find some new creative, potentially entrepreneurial ways of responding to requests like Councillor Tattison's, particularly when it involves a dead-end road and one that he knows very, very well. I don't know the particular road well at all. I think I've been on it maybe once or twice on golf excursions, but other than that, I don't know the road. But maybe some kind of hybrid model needs to be looked at. You know, the staff, our excellent staff, by the way, who do a lot of really, really good work, you know, rattled off a whole series of things about signs and speed notices and such. Maybe there's a situation, I just throw this out there for consideration, where we would locate a couple of speed cushions and we'd put a sign up saying, "He speed cushion ahead." I know we put speed cushion signs up anyways, but maybe a lit up sign saying, you know, dangerous road, speed cushion ahead. You know, that would be a hybrid that I think that it might be satisfactory to the councillor, who obviously has a real safety concern here, and as we all do. About 54% of all my calls in the ward are potholes on rural roads, mostly. Speeding, parking, stoplights, you know, you need police, fire, safety related. And I think we need to be as creative as we can if circumstances warrant, and I get the feeling they do in this case, to be a little bit more flexible than we might normally be. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. And before second-time speaker, Councillor Tattison, can I relinquish the chair? Okay, thank you. I always support the councillors when they bring their motions, and the reason is they live there. They know the experience. But after hearing especially Mike Field and our director, Rael, talk about that this is rural and Ontario's, after I heard that Transportation of Canada and MTO does not support it, after I heard that there's other ways to slow people down. In my ward, I have a lot of people that want it on Queensdale, and we can't put them on Queensdale or, you know, these ulterior roads. And sometimes the DDS works. Matter of fact, I had somebody say they think they work great. Every time she sees one, she slows down and she realizes, oh, I went too fast. And so they do work. Narrowing the lanes, they work. And when I heard the staff say maybe there's other way we can do this, I cannot support it, even though and Councillor Tattison, you know, I always support your motions, but I want to be clear thinking. I want to make sure we don't set a precedent here. That we don't say, because Councillor, Councillor Beatty, I don't know if yours was a rural road or not, alternative, the ones we voted for. But because we did it there, we're going to do it here. And I don't understand, Councillor Tadas, and maybe you could ask, you said it's a dead end. Where are people going so fast and that they have to stop? Are the people living there doing, I don't know how long it is. Like I said, I'm not in your ward, so I do not know. But I believe that we do not want to have risk for the city. And I think that's what I heard loud and clear by our director, that we do not want to take risk. How many risks are we taking if somebody does get hurt because they're going 50, 59 kilometers per hour, because it's 50 kilometers per hour there. People always go a little bit faster, and all of a sudden they hit a bump and they're flying. I know I bike that area, but I have never, it is quiet when I bike anyways, but I just cannot support it, and those are my reasons, and I hope you understand that. But I do appreciate you listening to your constituent, because it's important to do that, but we have to make sure the risk is not greater. So thank you. I'll take the chair back.
Well, thank you, Councillor Pauls, for that. May I speak now?
Yes. Oh. Okay. Yes, it's your turn, Councillor Tata, for the second time.
So I understand that you, the way that you feel, and that you feel that there are risks. I don't feel the same way about those risks. The consultant that they spoke to did not go down to the road, never set foot on the road, never spoke to residents, has no lived experience. That's what I'm going off of. They basically looked at it from a mile-high point of view. I do definitely feel that the classification should have changed decades ago when the road was cut off by the airport and it became a dead end. That classification of arterial road doesn't apply, which is what they are stuck on with their mindset, and that's why I don't agree with it. So I do agree with the councillor from Ward 2 that speed cushions should not happen on any through roads, for sure. Like, we're not going to put speed cushions on the bottom of Queen Street. That doesn't make sense. But this is a dead end road. This is a dead end road that's highly populated by people, and they want to use that road as that's their means. There's no sidewalks there for them to use. This is their way of biking. Their kids are on this road biking. The seniors are walking down this road with their dogs. They don't have another way to use this road. They just want to walk on a road that has slow traffic on it, and using measures that we know slow traffic. Because all those other measures, even though we say they work, they don't actually work as effectively as speed bumps. And that's why we have so many speed bumps in our city. Again, in the future, this road, as Councillor Wilson said, this road will be urbanized. And at that time when it is urbanized, it will get sidewalks. So then, by all means, take out speed bumps. We don't have to have this speed bump forever in perpetuity. These are speed bumps for now, and this road is actually in the urban area. It is inside the AEGD, so it's a rural road, but it's actually inside the AEGD. And it's gonna get development, but at this time right now, it's a rural road that people walk on, that people walk their dogs on, that kids ride their bikes on. They want the traffic to go slower. The speeders come down there because there's 4 or 5 dealerships in the area that use this road as their test drive cycle. So I hope you can see that and understand that from my point of view, that shouldn't be happening, but they come down here, it's probably about a half-mile stretch of straightaway, and they let her rip. They want to see how fast their cars go. You put a DDS sign up, they're going, oh, let's try if we can hit 120. That's what they're going to do, the drivers. The people that want to drive cars, they want to go fast, they want to see what's going on. We have drag strips. I've taken pictures of this road with probably tread marks, maybe 50, 60 yards long, meters long, of just like burnouts that are happening on this road. And I showed staff that, and they acknowledged that that stuff happens there. It's not captured in that 15% that are not talked about in their 85th percentile. There are people that are going down this road in excess of 120, 140 kilometers an hour to see how fast their cars can go. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to say support this, and you support the residents that live on the road, which is why I was elected, to support my rural residents. any other reason for me, it doesn't apply. Again, you can pick up situations. This is not precedent setting. This is a one-off that we determine. Anytime something else comes here, we can look at it and we can turn it down or we can accept it. That's what council's here for, to support people, not to just worry about precedent setting, because we determine what's precedent setting and what's not. Thank you.
I appreciate that. I really, I think I'm going to ask Director Royale to respond to that.
Through the chair. So first, Councillor, I appreciate the passion, and when we spoke, you talked to the same things that we're here debating today. So first, listen, we acknowledge that. I think I just want to make a couple things maybe clear that is just to help with the dialogue here. So the comments about the consultant not being out on site, I do want to correct that. The consultant and staff did go out and specifically look at this cross-section and this segment of roadway as part of what we provided here today. So I just wanted to relay that with regards to providing that information. From transportation's perspective, and in particular road safety, which is what we're governed by and it's paramount to us, is we're always trying to find a win and help with any situation that's happening out on a corridor. Speeding is the #1 item that we receive through my office and through road safety's office, so we're always looking for tools in the toolbox to safely be implemented on all roads throughout the city of Hamilton. We acknowledge that by the time the current cross-section to the time it is fully built out, that there does need to be something that can be done. What we're speaking to everybody about today is that there are other tools that have not been reviewed or assessed that we feel should be implemented prior to adding speed cushions, which a number of agencies that we follow the guidelines to and adhere to are not supportive of. And we need to be transparent on that to committee on the fact that there is an increased inherent safety risk with doing this. And again, it will be the decision of committee on how they vote on it.
Thank you for that. All right, we're going to have a second-time speaker. Councillor Cretch, please.
Thanks. You answered one of my questions, was just to get a better understanding of what the consultant's work was if they went out on site, looked at the specific section in light of what Councillor Chattison said, and you clarified that, so thank you for that. And I also just wanted to correct what I said previously, that what you are suggesting actually, instead of doing this, is narrowing the lanes. And that actually will have a significant impact on the ability for people to drive quickly. Usually it does. When you narrow lanes and add signage, do you ever also do things like put in bollards on the side for extra visibility, like that kind of thing, to draw attention to the fact that the road is narrowing, signs that explain the road is narrowing, and so on? I didn't really capture that in what was said previously. I know you were going to put up signs about the slowness of things happening, which I don't think are necessarily effective, but letting people know that the road is narrowing may be effective in terms of giving them advance warning.
Through the chair, so to confirm, there was a list of items that the consultant did come back to us, and it did include putting flex stakes or markers on the road to, one, we were looking at narrowing the road widths, and then, because there is a paved shoulder there where people do walk, we would be looking at other measures as well with regards to delineating and narrowing the road.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Cretch. Okay, for the third time, we're going to have Councillor Chattison.
Sorry about this. Last time, I promise. I just wanted to address one other point that was brought up, and it was that it was said that I didn't work with staff about finding a suitable location. That's because staff wasn't willing to consider any suitable locations because their stance is no. So for me, I went out with residents and we located 2 spots that were acceptable to the majority of residents on the road. Give us the speed bumps now. I will work with staff to find more suitable locations if there are suitable locations with that. But just give us our speed, just give the residents of this road the speed bumps that they're asking for now. It's a simple solution, and it's probably the most effective one. And again, I'll leave it at that. Thank you for your support.
Thank you for that. Can I ask the chair, can you take the chair? I just found when you said suitable place, is that on the street that you did not talk to I didn't understand that.
Oh, because I determine the locations with residents that live on the road where suitable locations. We basically broke the road down into thirds, and we put at the 1/3 and then closer to the 2/3 of the road distance to provide that area. So that's what I meant by that, okay? And again, if staff isn't in agreement with that, and that's one of the reasons that they're not supportive of it, I'm more than willing to work with staff, but we have to get the permission to have speed bumps there first, or else staff has just been saying, no, we're not doing speed bumps.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that.
Chair's back to you.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to go for the vote. Electronic vote, please, on speed bumps. You vote no. No. No, you vote yes. Yes, if you support him, no. Oh, well. Thank you. Everybody voted? Councillor McMeekin, you can vote. Okay, it passes 10-3. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. 10.2, Councillor Beatty, can you introduce your motion, please?
Thank you. We're going to spin the wheel of speed cushions again and see what we come up with. Therefore, be it resolved that I'm going to read the entirety into the record. Installation of speed cushions on Winona Road. Whereas the City of Hamilton has adopted Vision Zero approach, which considers human error as part of the roadway safety equation, whereas residents on Winona Road between Highway 8 and Barton Street and Ward 10 have been advocating for the installation of speed cushions to address roadway safety concerns as a result of speeding, whereas the Transportation Division completed traffic calming warrants for Winona Road between Highway 8 and Barton Street and Ward 10, which determined that speed cushions are not technically warranted, whereas signatures were collected from residents on Winona Road between Highway 8 and Barton Street, resulting in support of 18 of 35, 51% of homes on Winona Road for the installation of speed cushions as a traffic calming measure. Whereas the Transportation Division conducted a review to select suitable speed cushion locations on Winona Road between Highway 8 and Barton Street, which have been reviewed by the ward office. Therefore, be resolved that the Transportation Division be authorized and directed to install. I need to make a little edit here, up to sorry that wasn't caught earlier, up to 3 speed cushions on Winona Road between Highway 8 and Barton Street at approximately 260, 277, and 294. Winona Road is a traffic calming measure as part of the Transportation's divisions, that should also say Transportation Divisions, 2025 Speed Cushions Installation Program. Apologies for the edits last minute. That all costs associated with the installation of the traffic calming measures be funded through the Ward 10 CP minor maintenance, the number noted there, at an upset limit, including contingency not to exceed $9,000, and that the General Manager of Public Works and City Clerk be directed and authorized to execute any required agreements and auxiliary documents with such terms and conditions in a form satisfactory to the city solicitor. Going once, going twice, just kidding. A little background for members around the horseshoe. There used to be speed bumps in this exact section. They were installed, they were rubberized, put them out in the summer, bring them in for the winter. The City of Hamilton no longer does that. And since the removal, I know that there's been ongoing conversations for a long period of time with community members. You see that there is a majority, but it's tight. I understand that. I also want to make note that the Winona Community Center is on this street. That site has been identified as the long-term home for a newly renovated Winona Community Center to be built. So there will continue to be traffic and an increase of traffic on the street over a long period of time. This street is also, I would call it a bypass or a backdoor diversion route, however you want to classify it, for people that are not taking 50 Road to go to the Winona Crossing development, which is also known as the Costco Plaza. And since the construction of that plaza back in 2014, 2015, whenever it was, anecdotally, everybody knows that there's been a whole lot more traffic on that street. I would also make note that the northern leg of Winona Road between Barton Street and the CN rail crossing has already 2 speed bumps. So to summarize, there's reinstalling what was once there. There is an acknowledgement that this is a busy thoroughfare. There's an acknowledgement that there's a high number of pedestrians and localized traffic in the area as a result of the Winona Community Center. A lot of flow-through traffic going to Winona Crossing, and the northern leg already has 2 permanent speed bumps installed. So this, in my view and in the community's view, plays in nicely in maintaining a slow-moving, safe, relatively quiet street, regardless of the fact that it is quite busy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And is there any questions? Okay, I don't see any, so we're going to go straight to the vote. Thank you. What's that? Oh, the seconder. Who's your seconder? Councillor Tadison. Okay, it's 13-0. Thank you. Okay. 10.3. No comment from the peanut gallery here. Okay, come on, 10.3. Councillor Kassar, would you like to introduce your motion?
Thank you. It's moved by me, second joyfully by Councillor Peanut Gallery Jackson. I think you're referring to him. Thank you for. This is to do with the Copetown Lions Park Pathway proposal by the Copetown Lions Club in Ward 12. Whereas Copetown Lions Park is located in 1950 Governors Road in Ward 12, whereas the Copetown Lions Club has submitted a request to fund the development of a new park walkway at Copetown's Lion Park, whereas this proposal would provide an asset that supports active living and well-being for all residents, providing a meaningful upgrade for the rural community, whereas this initiative aims to improve accessibility and enhance outdoor experiences for all community members, including those who participate in the adult day programming operating at the Copetown Community Center adjacent to the park. Whereas City of Hamilton staff will assist with in-kind project management and detailed design of the proposed staff in any permits required, and whereas an agreement would be required between the Copetown Lions Club and the City of Hamilton to formalize the project details. Therefore, be it resolved that the City of Hamilton be authorized to work with the Copetown Lions Club to develop a new park pathway at Copetown Lions Community Park. The work scope will include feasibility review and conceptual design, detailed design with construction drawings and implementation to be funded through donations from the Copetown's Lion Club. And B, that staff be directed to report back with estimates for construction, ongoing operating costs, and related financing plan upon completion of the feasibility review and conceptual design. Any annual operating cost impacts for the required maintenance and repairs for the new pathway will be included in the 2027 Public Works Department base operating budget. And then finally, the boilerplate legal language, which I won't go through. So I think it's pretty straightforward. This is just an agreement to help the Copetown Lions Club with their fundraising and to execute a project that it's been well thought out and well needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, there's no one on the list, so we're going to go straight to the vote. Thank you. And it's 13-0. Thank you. I'm going to relinquish my chair to read my motion. And my motion is a good news motion, so I'm going to read it. It's a little bit, it's really quick. I can read fast. And it's moved by myself and second by Councillor Maureen Wilson. Thank you. Mountain Park Avenue Phase 2 additional funding. Whereas the Mountain Park Avenue Phase 2 project and part of the corridor upgrade to enhance safety, mobility, and streetscaping in the East Mountain neighborhood between Upper Sherman and Poplar Avenue. Whereas a detailed design for corridor improvements have been completed through a consulting assignment and will form the basis of competitive tendering process for the construction. Council has previously approved a total budget of $3,400,000 for the Mountain Park Avenue Phase 2 project. Whereas, though the details design it was recommended that to improve roadside safety for both vehicle, traffic, and pedestrian cyclists, an existing fence along the escarpment edge near the road be upgraded to crash barrier type system consistent modern standards. Whereas, a condition assessment also identified corrosion on top of the steel reinforcement of the cantilevered section of this roadway, which should be replaced with stainless steel to enhance long-term durability. Whereas the enhancement crash barrier replacement and additional steel reinforcement decking and expected to increase the project cost for approximately $700,000, resulting in an updated total budget requirement of $4,100,000. Whereas securing the additional fund was enabled tendering in the late 2025, helped to attract competitive bids and allow the contractor ample time to mobilize for construction in 2026. Whereas the project budget increase can be funded, this is the good news, through reappropriation from 3 other projects, including $290,000 from the Bridge 310 York Boulevard, $300,000 from Bridge 189 RR 56 near Kirk Road, and $110,000 from Bridge 193 concession second, which were completed under budget. Isn't that great news? Under budget, and therefore there's no net impact in the 2025 capital budget. And whereas the procurement bylaw allows appropriate funds between accounts and for an amount of $250 approved by council is required. Therefore, be it resolved that an additional $700,000 in capital funding be approved from the Mountain Park Avenue Phase 2 project to meet the revised total construction estimated at 4.1. That the general manager of the Public Works or designated be authorized to appropriate the additional fund from Project Bridge 310 York Boulevard, 189 RR 56 near Kirk, and 193 concession, second, 104, to Mountain Park Drive to support the tender of this project 2025. So basically, we got some money that we saved one project and we're putting it into this project. So I think this is a great news, and I want to thank Councillor Maureen Wilson for supporting, seconding it, and any question, the director is here to answer them. I don't see any, so we'll go for a vote. What? Oh, I passed the chair.
Thank you for reading your motion out. I do not see anyone on the speakers list, so at this time, we will take the electronic vote.
Thank you. I get it.
The vote is up.
I keep forgetting. Thank you.
And that vote carries 13-0. The chair is back to you.
Thank you. All right, well, I'm going to move on. Automated Speed Enforcement Program. Councillor Nan, please introduce your motion. And you have a seconder.
Chair, it's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Huang. It was a motion that was discussed at the last Public Works meeting to seek expansion of the program, even though there's been a lot of hubbub in the news lately in terms of the province of Ontario seeking to actually ban automated speed enforcement. But let me read the whereas. I have a couple of comments, and then my colleagues can understand why we're proceeding with the motion instead of withdrawing it. Whereas the City of Hamilton is committed to achieving the goals of Vision Zero, and whereas annual collision data indicates that speeding and aggressive driving contribute to approximately 50% of reported collisions citywide, And whereas the city's automated speed enforcement program has proven to be an effective roadway safety tool with all revenues reinvested into Vision Zero roadway safety initiatives, thereby enhancing safety for all road users while reducing the tax burden on law-abiding citizens and residents, Whereas on September 17th, 2025, Council approved the report Automated Speed Enforcement Enhancements, which expands the program from 4 to 8 units. And whereas ward councillors and members of the public regularly raise concerns regarding speeding and are requesting considerations of additional uses of the ASE technology, and whereas report PW 25033 identified that expanding the ASE program beyond 8 units will likely exceed available resources, including the Traffic Enforcement Reserve and Provincial Offences Administration. Therefore, be it resolved that Transportation Division be directed to further assess how the automated speed enforcement program could be expanded to provide enhanced and progressive citywide coverage, and report back to PW Committee in Q2 next year with options for consideration, including associated staffing, financial resourcing, requirements within transportation and supporting divisions. And I'd like to add a B, that staff be directed to prepare an accounting of all costs incurred to date in implementing ASE in the City of Hamilton and report back to Public Works Committee. Colleagues, locally, regionally, nationally, internationally, the research is clear, including research from SickKids, Toronto Metropolitan University, the Canadian Automobile Association, the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police, Traffic Engineer Research Foundation, the Ontario Traffic Council, as well as the City of Hamilton's data received at last Public Works Committee. All confirm that automated speed enforcement are effective at reducing speeding, changing driver behavior, and making our roads safer for everyone. In Hamilton alone, 3,500 tickets were issued with only the use of 4 cameras. And according to the Canadian Association of Road Safety Professionals, the survival rate, if you're hit by a vehicle going 30 kilometers per hour, is 90%. If you're hit by a vehicle going 40 kilometers per hour, it's 60%. If you're hit by a vehicle going 50 kilometers per hour, you have a 20% chance. And if you're hit by a vehicle going 60 kilometers per hour, you got a 0% chance. Those numbers alone should be the evidence that the Premier of Ontario needs to look at in determining his decisions and the Ontario government's decision prior to banning the program. It's why across the city and our Vision Zero plan, the city uses a diversity of tactics along with ASE, including our red light cameras, our traffic enforcement, speed cushions on local, neighborhood, and other roadways, digital speed signs, community safety zones with reduced speed limits, and many roadway-specific design interventions. The measures cited by the Premier are already in use in Hamilton. The Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Ontario Caucus, and the Big Cities Mayors Caucus are all providing direct feedback to the province of Ontario to reconsider banning this effective evidence-based tool to help keep our neighborhoods safe and work directly with municipalities to improve and standardize the ASE program. Given the overwhelming feedback being delivered to the Minister of Transportation and the Premier directly from residents across the entire province and bodies like the ones I've mentioned, there may very well be an opportunity to find a path forward to keep automated speed cameras in operation to enable public safety for children in school zones and community safety zones where municipalities have parks with playgrounds, where seniors reside at long-term care facilities or near retirement homes. So I'm seeking that additional direction in this motion to position our city should the province proceed with banning the use of ASE instead of working in collaboration with municipalities across the city, so that we may be able to submit to the province for reimbursement the entire totality of costs that the City of Hamilton has incurred, not only of cameras, signs, but of all other costs that have been associated with implementing the ASE program, and request for a reimbursement should they choose to ban the program. And finally, thank you to Director Rael, as well as staff in the Transportation Division for your support in preparing the motion. Thank you.
Okay, we have a speakers list. Councillor Wilson, Maureen Wilson, please.
Thank you, Chair. I have a question and then a comment, if I can couple them, because I'll be done under 5. My one question through you to Director Rael on the ASC. I'm assuming due process is a pretty fundamental principle whenever there is a fine, levy, charge issued by an institution, particularly, obviously, a public one. Through you to the chair, does is there a right of appeal? Thank you with ASCs, please.
Through the chair, Carolyn Ryle, Director of Transportation. Yes, there is an appeal process for red light camera and ASC.
Thank you. Pretty fundamental. Just a comment from me, Chair. On January the 28th of this year, the Lieutenant Governor of Ontario, the Honourable Edith Dumont, accepted Premier Ford's request to dissolve the 43rd Parliament of the Province of Ontario, such that we had an election, an early election, held on February of this year. And in calling an early election, Premier Ford said, quote, "Right now, President Trump has put uncertainty to every single Canadian. A lot of other countries around the world, this is not going to happen overnight. It might not happen that very first. I'm sure something is coming, but this is going to be a battle for the next 4 years. I want to make sure I have a strong mandate to outlast President Trump." I appreciate that the Premier was in this city this morning making the kinds of investments that matter to Hamilton and that matter to the competitive future and well-being of this province. Though that's important work, those are important announcements, and I absolutely support those endeavors. I didn't think that reaching down into municipal traffic safety endeavors was going to be on the anti-Trump agenda. I didn't think this was part of the mantra in making us more competitive and part of our combined collective federal efforts to protect our economic and national sovereignty. I appreciate the work now that all the municipal actors are having to do in expending energy in trying to instill some carve-outs so we can actually keep children safe near school zones and maybe our seniors safe outside places of worship. I am befuddled at why the Premier would be wanting to do these sorts of things when we have such urgent matters facing this province and this nation. We have a housing sector that is pretty much in the dumpster. We have a mental health crisis, substance crisis. We have to make investments that are going to enable our workers to be able to have jobs, and we have a steel industry that's hanging on by a thread. Yet, the Premier of Ontario still wants to be the Mayor of Toronto and every other single community in this province. I would have assumed he has a lot of important things on his plate. This shouldn't be it. For heaven's sake, put the province first, put our future first, and put our children first. I appreciate the Ontario Chiefs of Police taking a principled, informed stance on this matter. We should follow their guidance. Thank you to my colleague for the motion.
Well said. All right, next is Councillor McMeekin, please.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. What was the word you used, befuddled? I too am befuddled. It seems, I'm scratching my head. I'm so that befuddled. It's, Councillor Wilson's right. There is a clear and present danger in our community on many fronts. And the safety of kids and families is certainly one of them. There is bona fide evidence that speed cameras work. There's bona fide evidence that speed cushions are a very effective way of calming traffic. For the life of me, like Councillor Wilson, can't understand why something like this is so difficult to grasp. I'll vote for the motion because I think it makes sense in terms of drawing attention to if the provincial position stands to highlight the difficulties it's created. But when all is said and done, Deputy Mayor, this is about safety. This is about it's about trust. When we get elected, people want to know that they can trust us. That we have their best interest at heart. They may not always agree. I have people say to me, I don't always agree with you, McMeekin, but you know what? I know you've got my best interest at heart. So I'll live with the fact that on this particular issue we disagree. But I haven't found anybody in my ward, save those who want to race their cars in places where we want to put speed cameras, who are in favor of dispatching those as a traffic calming measure. It just defies logic. I don't know. I mean, I appreciate the announcement that was made today too, the GO station and all that stuff. It's the transit station. That's important. But you know what? If you heard me say this before, if we only have time for the urgent, we don't have time for the important. This is an important issue, and I'm glad the councillors raised it in her motion. And I hope, and I don't pray about a lot of things, but I hope and pray. And by the way, I think we always pray with our feet and with our emotions, not just with our hands crossed. I hope and pray that the Premier may have a change in his thinking. That's the hope part, and we'll. As Winston Churchill once said, if you can't change your mind, you can't change anything. I hope he'll change his mind and re-embrace something that has a clear safety component to it, because we owe that to the people we're privileged to represent, in my humble opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Now we have Councillor Francis, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And through this announcement, I was really surprised to hear how many speed cameras that other municipalities have. I know there's smaller municipalities that have upwards of a couple hundred cameras, and we have 4. My question to staff, because a lot has come out of this in the last couple of weeks, there seems to be a lot of confusion about how these speed cameras are used city to city. And can staff share with me or with everyone here what that threshold of speed is with these cameras for if you do go over the speed limit? Is there some leeway here? Because there seems to be a lot of confusion from folks. They think there's a 1 kilometer an hour threshold. Is there at least some leeway here? And maybe they can tell me that. And maybe is some of this confusion coming from the fact that other municipalities are using a different threshold than Hamilton? Through you, Chair.
Director Raya.
Through the chair, I'll start. Maybe I'll pass it to Manager Field. He may have more information. So, Councillor, the threshold is not something that any municipality discloses. So nobody knows at what point over the posted speed limit you're driving, you're going to be issued a ticket. What we're wanting motorists to do is obey the rules of the road and follow the posted speed limit, especially in the proximity of schools, parks, on the road. That's, like I made mention earlier, the largest complaint we receive through transportation is speeding, which then puts us into how we're redesigning, reconstructing roads to try and deal with the fact that people aren't obeying the rules of the road. So we did hear in the media as well that a number of municipalities municipalities were issuing tickets 1 or 2 kilometers over. I have not heard that in my dialogue with other municipalities and on different committees that I am a part of, and also coming from Niagara Region. We rolled out Vision Zero when I was the director there. Tickets weren't being issued on 1 or 2 kilometers over the posted speed limit, so I'm not sure where that's occurred or if that's factually correct that was said by the Premier in his statement. But I just wanted to reiterate, the threshold is not something that municipalities are putting out to those driving on the road.
I appreciate that confirmation. I do need a little bit of reassurance here. I'm not asking, staff are not going to share that, and I agree, this isn't something we should advertise, but is the threshold 1 kilometer an hour? Is that true? Through you, Chair?
Okay. Director? It's Mike?
Through the chair to the councillor, it's a tough question for us because we've been asked not to provide that information as guidance from the province. However, I think maybe we can just leave it and say we're not able to disclose the threshold, or if there is a threshold.
Thank you, Councillor. Is that it, Councillor Francis?
Yeah, that's it. I just, for me, obviously this has sparked a lot of debate over the last couple weeks. This was a decision of council that was unanimous. But it did spark a lot of questions for folks, and this was one of the main questions that they had. They thought that these cameras were nailing them at a 1 kilometer an hour over. I wish I could flush that clarity out for folks, but I understand the reasons for that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Jackson.
Thanks, Chair Pauls, and I really appreciate Councillor Nan's motion here, reaffirming and enhancing, extending the position of this council and this term of this council, and eloquent speech as well, Councillor Nan, hitting all the bullet points. For me, Chair Pauls, this is such an issue that falls into municipal jurisdiction alone. I don't understand the provincial government wanting to involve itself, interfere itself with something that to me is so fundamentally a municipal jurisdiction and oversight. We have our Transportation Operations Division that oversees all traffic measures in this community. They do an outstanding job. And I'm befuddled by and amused by the Premier, who usually, and has been obviously successful for 3 majority terms, has his finger on the pulse of public opinion. And as far as I'm concerned, he looks after 12 million people in this province. I don't. I look after a paltry 40,000 people on the East Mountain in Ward 6 compared to what the Premier looks after. And I can tell you the public opinion in my ward is strongly behind the ASCs. I wish I could put a police officer on every main corridor in my ward. I wish I could. We have a specialized traffic safety unit under Chief Bergen that I believe has about 20 officers that's specialized. That's all they do, traffic safety. I beg, I plead, I hope. I put in a request, of course, can never direct, but I just put in community requests to Division 3, and with the hope that police presence can occur more often on my main corridors on the East Mountain, so that people would get the message and change behavior of what they are creating dangerous situations on our roadways. I also want to make a comment about community safety zones. I'm hearing what I sense is a thrust from Councillor Nan and others about, look, if the Premier, Councillor Jackson, is heading down this path, maybe some form of possible negotiation, although we are standing firm and reaffirming our position unanimously and believing in the ASCs as an additional tool for traffic calming and safety. My bit of concern I'm going to put on the table is, for example, Upper Ottawa Street has big signs from the traffic department that says community safety zone. Well, Upper Ottawa Street ain't necessarily right beside a playground, park, rec center, or library. Yes, it's interspersed once you go into some neighborhoods that border Upper Ottawa, of course, and it's all residential alongside of, adjacent to that main corridor. But Upper Ottawa itself has community safety zone signs on it. So I just hope we don't potentially move away from our unanimous position of saying we believe in the ASCs. Premier Ford, please leave the 8 ASCs in Hamilton. If there's other jurisdictions for some reason that there may be some attempt at abuse of the hundreds of ASCs they have, deal with that separately. But here in Hamilton, for the tiny amount we have trying to cover our entire huge geographic city, I just find the ASCs are popular, they're effective. And also, lastly, when the Premier Chair Pauls talked about speed cushions, I thought to myself, I can't put a speed manager, field director Rael would tell me I can't, we heard earlier, I can't legally put a speed cushion on Upper Ottawa, right? It's a main arterial. So I'm not sure where the Premier's coming from. Tom, I'll give you flashing lights, I'll give you more speed cushions where you've got the cameras. I can't put a speed cushion on a main arterial road. We know signs are, you know, they're there. Hopefully people do obey them, but we know that people often just, if there's no punitive measure for creating dangerous situations on our roadways, sadly, unfortunately, motorist behavior continues to do what it does. And at the end of the day, Chair Pauls, this is again hitting the violator. This has nothing to do with the everyday taxpayer or the levy. Yes, we put out amount to purchase, but like the red light camera, public safety first, it's shown to bring in revenue down the road that we can use for additional traffic safety measures, lights, pedestrian lights, crosswalks, whatever. Bonus country, from my opinion. So I'm hoping the Premier will reconsider and realize that, in my opinion, public opinion on this one is supportive of the ASCs. Thanks, Chair Pauls.
Thank you for that. Everybody okay with this? I mean, I could go and say a lot more too, but I think everybody said enough, and it's very good. And I think we all agree what everybody else has said. It is true. Okay, so we're going to vote. Okay, we're going to go, oh, all right. What's this? I think it passes, but I don't know. I think 2, 4, 6. Okay, it's 11-0. Thank you. We're going to move on. 10.6, complete street review implement investment. Ward 1, please. Maureen Wilson, Councillor Maureen Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Tattison. There is a soon-to-be-published Safe Street study for the neighborhoods of Kirkendale and Strathcona, beg your pardon. And within that study, there's an identified need for this infrastructure. So I just would like to get it out and in. It's 2 places. One, in front of a very well-used, well-loved elementary school, Earl Kitchener. And the second is on Locke Street. Again, lots of pedestrian activity and a crossover for children getting to and from school. Therefore, be it resolved that Transportation Division be directed to prioritize the conversion of what is existing in terms of the pedestrian crossover on Dundurn and on Locke to pedestrian signals with implementation targeted for 2026, subject to internal resourcing and project delivery capacity. That the conversion of the existing crossovers on Dundurn and on Locke Street South to pedestrian signals be funded by the Ward 1 reserve, and that the GM of Public Works and clerk be authorized and directed to execute any required agreements and documentation to enable in such terms and conditions satisfactory to the city solicitor. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. And we're going to go straight to the e-vote. I don't see anyone on the speakers list, so we're almost done. Okay. 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 And it passes 10-0. Okay, we're going to go now to notice of motion, and it's Councilor Francis. Please introduce your motion and your notice of motion, and you will be seeking suspending of the rules. Am I correct?
That's correct. And seconded by Councillor Spatafor, but staff were not able to submit this on time.
Okay, so we'll vote on that for suspending the rules. Okay. And suspending the rules. Okay. All right, so it passes 10-0. Councilor Francis, please introduce your motion.
Yes, this is seconded by Councillor Spatafor. Installation of speed cushions as a traffic calming measure on Orford Road. Whereas signatures were collected from residents resulting in support. 17 out of 17 homes, 100% of homes on Orford Road between Galemont Drive and Rainbow Drive for the installation of a speed cushion as a traffic calming measure. Therefore, be resolved that we do it, that the Transportation Division be authorized and directed to install one speed cushion on Orford Road between Galemont Drive and Rainbow Drive. And I want to thank resident Michelle for doing very well with this petition.
Well, thank you. All right, I don't see anyone, so let's go for the e-vote, please. I think everybody's getting tired. All right. Okay, and that passes 10-0. And now we are adjournment. Thank you. Yeah, German. We adjournment.